All right, we are going to go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. It is the last, knock on wood, county council meeting of 2025. And for the record here, we have present in the Nat U Hill room. I'll start to my left here. We have Councilors Fidel, Wiltz, Deckard, and Iverson. Not joining us this evening in person are council members David Henry and Marty Hawk, and they should be virtual. And I see Councilmember Hawk virtual. So we got a quorum in the Nat U Hill room. So we will go ahead and get started. So all those who are able to stand, please stand for the reciting of our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Next up is the adoption of tonight's agenda. Does anybody wish to make any amendments to tonight's agenda? Yes, Councilor Iverson.
Madam President, I move to pull item 12C per the department's request and move to add item 10J, auditor's request for an in-house transfer with regards to Fund 8950-0000, America Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. And I also wanted to do a quick change of tonight's agenda. I know Mayor Morgan and team from Heading Home are here, and a few of those folks will not be able to stay for a lot of our meetings. So I would like to add, and their item is 11A. So I would like to bump that up after consent agenda items. So are there any other amendments to tonight's agenda? Okay. All right. So all those that are, well, nope, because we got council members present virtually. So everything tonight will be a roll call vote. So may we please have a roll call vote on tonight's amended agenda?
Councilor Fidel?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk is still not present, is that correct?
I don't see.
Okay.
I don't believe she's attending. She just, sorry to interrupt, but she sent an email to me just a little bit ago saying that she wasn't feeling well.
Oh, okay. So. Okay. Well, we hope Councilor Hawk is feeling better. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Crossley?
Yes.
And Councilor Henry?
Yes.
Passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay, thank you very much. And next up are public comment. So if there is anybody that is here present in the Nat U Hill room or virtually, you can make public comment on things that are not on tonight's agenda. You can do so via Teams by raising your hand, or you can come into the Nat U Hill room to the lectern here. So do we have anybody here present in the Nat U Hill room? I already saw a hand just pop up, so just checking here in person. Nope. Okay. And so I will go to Teams. So I think it was Mr. MG. So Mr. MG, you should be able to unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, President Crossley, members of the County Council. Sorry I'm not there to be in person at the historic Nat Hill U room, but I did want to check in online. I want to take a moment to thank this body for the care and diligence you bring into your work on behalf of the residents of Monroe County. I might have been critical in the past a couple of times where I don't think that was the case, but this is the case now. The time you spend asking some good, thoughtful questions recently, weighing some very difficult decisions, and holding yourselves accountable and government accountable reflects a real commitment to good government. Even when issues are complex and viewpoints differ, I think there's been a focus on transparency and responsible stewardship that helps build the necessary trust that we have to have in local government that ensures these decisions are made in our best interest or the community's best interest in mind. Thank you for your service, continued dedication, serving Monroe County residents. I look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, last call for anybody that would like to make public comment on items on tonight's agenda. Again, raise your hand in via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. Now we can see. Okay. And seeing none, we will move on. Thank you for public comment. All right, next up is department updates. And so usually department updates are for items that are not on the agenda. So those departments will have up to 10 minutes to make your update. Again, if you are present here in the Nat U Hill room, you can come to the lectern here, or you can have a seat at the table. Or if you are virtually, you can raise your hand via Teams. Yes, Michelle.
I just wanted to bring to your attention from the meeting from December the 9th, there was a Scrivener's error with regards to the probation's care grant. They used the wrong location number. So the auditor went ahead and corrected it to the correct number for that grant year. Okay. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention. Is that okay?
Thank you very much for that update. Are there any other department updates? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. All right, so next up is item 6 for boards and commissions. We saw it in the news, but we now have got a word of resignation from Mr. Jeff McKim as the council's appointment to the CIB. Are there any comments from council regarding this resignation? Yes, Councilor Iverson.
I just wanted to take a brief second and thank Mr. McKim for his dedication to the CIB. We can see the fruits of his labors in the steel structure that is now where the expanded convention center is going to be. So I think it's just a moment where we can take time to thank Mr. McKim for all of his dedicated service.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Decker.
I also want to thank him for his service to the county, one additional year beyond his previous work. But I also want to congratulate the city. That was a tremendous coup in bringing him to work for their organization. And if they do well, we do well. And I think that it'll continue to benefit the community. Of note, this is our second controller from the county. So somebody here is doing something right. And let's just keep doing it. And hopefully we're not sending the third anytime soon.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
Just echoing my colleagues in congratulations all around, and former Councilor McKim will be missed on the CIB. What is the process then for replacing Mr. McKim?
Formally, anybody that would, and that gets into our next item, but for this particular one, anybody that is very much interested in being a council appointment to the CIB, then you can go to our website and you can apply at the boards and commissions page and submit an application. And we will review those and we will pick the best person to fill some big shoes.
Do we have a timeline or at least a goal?
I don't think that we have a timeline. However, I think given the nature of the position, I don't think we will have any problems finding applicants.
Absolutely.
So again, maybe if all of us could just again pitch out to the community for anybody that would like to apply to be the council appointment for the CIB, again, contact one of us. Come up after the meeting today, and also just go to the county's website to apply via the boards and commissions page. Okay. Councilor Henry, I want to make sure I didn't see your hand raised. I didn't want to miss you for anything.
Oh, I'll just say thanks, Jeff. There's no reason to heap that much praise. Jeff's a great guy. Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. All right. And I would like to say I get to see him in another capacity. So I'm kind of excited with that. So congratulations to the city for getting one of the best people here in town. And I, again, look forward to seeing him around City Hall next month. All right. That being said, are there any objections to accepting Mr. McKim's resignation? All right. And seeing none, his resignation is accepted. All right. Next up, as Councilor Wiltz was alluding to, we have not one but two citizen vacancies. And so, kind of also reminds me of my day job. So as we pitch for boards and commissions, anybody that is on teams or anybody present here in the Nat U Hill room that knows anybody that would be a great fit for one of two of our vacancies, we have a vacancy for the Sophia Travis Grant Committee. That one would be a 2-year term. Oh, did we change it? Yes, okay. 2-year term. And then we, again, as we mentioned, go into the Capital Improvement Board, also known as the CIB, as it is very much in the news recently. So if you are interested in applying for either one of those, again, you can go to the county's website, and that is www.in.gov/county/Monroe. And again, you can scroll down to you see on the left-hand side the boards and commissions. Click that, and you should be able to apply for either one of those. And if you have any questions related to applying for any of those positions, you can always contact our county office at 812-349-7312. I feel like a PSA. All right. So next up, as we move from 6 to 7. 6, 7. All right. Sorry. Gotta have some fun. All right. These last few days definitely deserve it. All right. Next up is consent agenda items. Consent agenda.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda item for December the 16th. The Recorder's Office request in Fund 1189-0000. Recorder's Records Perpetuation for Category Transfer $54,435 from the Supplies category to the Services category.
Second.
All right. Is there any questions or comments on tonight consent agenda items from council? And looking via Teams land and looking here at the dais, I don't see any. So we'll take public comment. If we have public comment on consent agenda item as presented, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
All right, thank you. And now we go to the amended portion, which is bumping 11A all the way up to next. So I believe we have folks here from Heading Home. I see them. So make your way to the table here, and we will get started with our discussion.
Good evening, counselors.
Good evening.
I was not sure if I was going to have a remote to advance our slides. We do have a slide presentation for you tonight.
You just say advance
I just say
or
advance.
next slide, and
All right.
they'll take care of it for you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, then in that case, I'm going to open my laptop so I'll know where the heck I am in terms of my slides. All right. Great. Well, good evening. I'm Mary Morgan. I'm Executive Director of Heading Home of South Central Indiana, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you tonight about not only Heading Home, but some of our system work as well. I am delighted that I have two team members here, and I would like them just quickly introduce themselves.
Hi, good evening. Tatiana Wheeler, work alongside Mary Morgan and Mary Hamrick at Heading Home. I'm the Associate Director.
Hi, I'm Mary Hamrick. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Director.
All right, advance, please. We can advance. Or, there we go. We're going to talk a little bit about the housing crisis. We're going to talk about the regional homeless response system, our own origin story and some of our initiatives, and some communications and kind of next steps. Advance. I know you are aware that housing is key. Homelessness is a housing problem. And just wanted to remind folks of some of the challenges that we face, not only in our region, but also as a nation. There is a serious lack of affordable housing, especially for low-income and extremely low-income individuals. There are an insufficient number of landlords that accept vouchers, which is a subsidy that many people use so that they can afford the high rents. There is also a serious stigma, which is becoming more and more of a concern to me in our community, especially against people who are unhoused. I think you've all heard about it, and we have, as a community, have a lot of work to do there. And then just insufficient supportive services for those people who need them, including mental health services, to keep people stably housed. Advance. So how are we responding to the housing crisis? We are part of a 6-county region. This is a map of the different counties that are part of this region. It's a state designation, and Heading Home's work mirrors the state region, which is Region 10. Primarily at this point, because we are still a young organization, our work focuses on Monroe, Morgan, and Lawrence County. But we are also interested in working in some of these other counties which have very, very few resources. And so their lack of resources puts more of a burden on Monroe County in particular. So we need to address that. These are some of the key partners in general in moving people from homelessness to housing. We rely on emergency shelters and the staff there, as well as our street outreach staff in different organizations, and then of course housing providers, including landlords. And this is just a quick overview of how we connect with people who are unhoused.
You can advance.
Oh, sorry. Advance. And one more. Thank you. There are access points which people enter the homeless response system. They can be shelters, can be a phone call to an agency or an individual, or they can be connected with street outreach staff that encounter folks in encampments and on the street. Case managers and others do assessments to just get a general idea of what the situation is and how to address someone's needs. And then those assessments are turned into a scoring mechanism, and that enables us to more equitably understand what priorities people should have in terms of their access to housing, because we do have limited resources. Those scores will then cause referrals to happen in a coordinated entry system and be connected to the appropriate housing. Next, please. A little bit of background about Heading Home. Many of you know this because you were involved in our origin story. Next, please. We began in 2020 and 21, and many of you were involved in the group that put together the Heading Home plan, which is our North Star and guides a lot of our work. You'll see some familiar faces. This was a collaboration of the city, the county, United Way, the Community Foundation, and other stakeholders, including the South Central Housing Network. Next, please. We just included a link to our Heading Home plan, which is on our website. And honestly, I feel like it needs to be updated. So we're going to be working on that in the future. Just FYI. Next, please. We have been transitioning in this past year, and one of the things that was a transition for us was to expand our board of directors. We now have, I think, a very formidable group, including Councilmember Wiltz. And these are the folks that help direct our mission. Next, please. Just a quick overview of our status from a very germ of an idea in 21. The fact that we were originally housed with United Way, we in 2022 and 23, as we expanded program and our role in the community, we moved to the Mill, a co-working space in the Trades District. And this year, we're thrilled to receive our 501c3 status. We are continue expanding our board and programs. We have affiliated with the Community Foundation now. They provide a lot of our back office support and added a significant number of staff, as you'll see. Next, please. Our leadership team, some of whom you see here. And then we are also onboarding and have onboarded a significant number of staff to bring our total to 12 right now and soon to be 13 staff members, up from 2 really for the past 4 years until this fall. Next, please. So Heading Home was set up to be a backbone organization to support the work of all of our partners and to really look at system level changes in the region. There are some examples on this slide that we've been working on over the past 4 years, and they are really efforts to bring together community partners to tackle big system problems that one individual partner agency wouldn't be able to do on their own. Some of those that we've worked on, including cross-agency trainings where we bring together different case managers from our various agencies and provide training on issues that affect everyone. Collaborating regionally, doing several system level changes that we will be talking about in a minute. Next, please. And again. So these are some examples of the system changes that we've worked on. We created the Heading Home Guide, which is a website that provides a range of information on a lot of different topics. We wanted to put it all in one place so that not only our agency partners would have access to this up-to-date information, but also people from the general public. Heading Home had a commitment to build the website, but also maintain it on a regular basis, which is not an insignificant amount of work. Next, please. We've also done a lot of work on landlord engagement, and we have, now that we have a full-time staff person to do this work, we are really excited. We can really make some significant changes in this area. I'm just gonna brag on Mary for a minute. Within the first 2 weeks of her being in this position, she uncovered 150 different vacant units in among our landlord partners. Now, that is amazing. The next challenge is to work on the barriers that some of those complexes have that prevent people from accessing those units. Credit checks, felony checks, criminal background checks, the fact that you might need 3 times your deposit or 3 times the income level of your deposit. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 times the rent in income each month.
Which is challenging to say the least. So these are some of the things that we've done over the past 4 years with landlords, but we are really looking forward to this next era where we're gonna make some huge changes. Next, please. Cross-agency training that I mentioned earlier, this is just some examples of the topics that we've done in the past. We're also working with the National Alliance to End Homelessness and are bringing in trainers for a 2-day session open to all of our agency partners on housing problem solving. The NAEH is a really terrific organization to work with, and we're happy to be able to host this training session. Next, please. We also do a fair amount of community convenings, whether that's with the business group, candidate learning sessions and forums, working with our faith partners. There are a lot of sessions that we've had with student organizations in the past, and it's just a role that we have to try to provide some education and information and problem solving with other members outside of the homeless response system. And then one of our big partnerships is with the national organization called Built for Zero. This is an entity that works with over 100 communities nationwide and internationally to really tackle some of these seemingly intractable problems and really make a dent in our nation's system to address homelessness. We are the first and only community so far in Indiana to be a part of this network, and we are really grateful for the coaching that they provide and the resources that they provide. They've guided us in a lot of work, which I'll talk about in a minute. We just had a meeting earlier today with our coaches, and we're really excited that they are focusing on our community to try to help us address some of the issues related to unsheltered homelessness. So we haven't figured out what exactly that will look like. You might have heard of an entity called Clutch Consulting that has done some encampment work, moving folks from encampments into housing in other communities. They are now contracted with Built for Zero to work with partner communities, and they have also trained Built for Zero staff who'll be working with us. And we met with one of those folks earlier today. So we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. It might be they would come here for community convening, stakeholder partnerships, if we can get the county and the city together to address specifically encampments or other issues that are barriers to housing. We would love to be a part of that, and we would love to invite you all to be a part of that as well. Next, please. Built for Zero was instrumental in helping us put together a data dashboard. Tatiana has taken the lead on that. It is updated every month with information from the Collaborative Homeless Management Information System, which is a database that are used by partners in this region. It's very helpful in having a better sense of what is happening in our community, and so we're not going in it blind. We've been working a lot on just ensuring quality data. We achieved that through Built for Zero. Was that 2024? In 2024, and have been working with our data coaches to make sure that we have as accurate as possible information about what's happening in our homeless system. And again, I think I said this last week that the data is important. Each of those data points represents an individual. Each individual is unique. So while data gives us a great kind of aggregate view, when we're talking about people who are struggling in this way, each story is different, and it's important to keep that in mind. Next, please. And again. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that are focused primarily on Monroe County. And as I've said, what I've talked about so far is regional, although much of the work is in Monroe, but we have two specific projects that are focused on Monroe. One is a housing action plan. We convened a group of service providers in 2024 to develop a very targeted list of recommendations for what needs to happen in our community to address unsheltered homelessness and what it will cost to get there. Some of the things on this slide are the part of the recommendations, and I'd encourage you to look at that plan. We can send you a link for a granular level of detail, and we do get quite granular. But this is one of the things that helps guide us, and then as we're seeking funding opportunities, we look for ways to address the need for case managers, the need for diversion funds, the need for medical respite, and other issues. Next, please. And then some really exciting news. Earlier this year, actually in late 2024, the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County received a significant grant from the Lilly Endowment. And we are one of the main partners that is implementing that grant. That has allowed us to hire Mary Hamrick, for example. We've also made a hire of Aaron Reynolds-Nyland, who was here at our last meeting, and who oversees the significant number of case managers that we're introducing to this community. In total, we'll have 6 street outreach case managers. hopefully by the end of the year or by early 2026. 3 diversion and prevention case managers who are already in place at our partner agencies, and our strategic partnerships director, as I mentioned. This grant also includes basically a guaranteed basic income pilot project that is administered by SCAP, and that if we can show proof of concept, we would hope to carry on after this grant expires in 5 years. Next, please. And this just gives you a little bit of a chart to show the Community Foundation has funded Heading Home, and then we're working with these various partners in street outreach. We have case managers embedded at Centerstone, Beacon, and HealthNet's Homeless Initiative program. And our diversion and prevention case managers are embedded at New Hope for Families, the library, the downtown branch, and Bloomington and Perry Township trustee offices. And quickly, I just want to mention a little bit more of the targeted strategic work. We've been working in Lawrence County. We set up a housing task force as a recommendation that came out of a housing study that we commissioned a few years ago. And we are doing something similar in Morgan County. Currently, Laura Littlepage, who's a professor at IU you might know of, she and her graduate students are doing a housing study in Morgan County to give us a better understanding of homelessness there. And Tatiana is board chair for Wellspring, which is the only shelter in Morgan County. Next, please. And just a reminder, you all should be on our email list. Hopefully it doesn't go to spam for the newsletters that we send out every month. We have information on our website, obviously. We do have social media, which we are going to be ramping up a little bit more in 2026. And we are always happy to come and address any kind of gathering, large or small. I don't think we've ever turned anybody down who's asked us to come and speak at their organization. One other thing, as part of our outreach and communications, we did a series, and that is ongoing, called People of Housing Security, because we felt like it was important to put a face to the folks who are doing frontline work in whatever way they may be. So that may be somebody at the Township Trustee's office. It may be somebody who is working for the city as a downtown ambassador. Of course, it's case managers and others who are working in our partner agencies. But this is just a way to kind of humanize some of the folks who are doing this really challenging work. And finally, I just would like to leave you with a thought. This is one of my favorite quotes. Choosing to have joy is not naively thinking everything will be easy. It is courageously believing that there is still hope even when things get hard. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Thank you very much to you and your team. Looks like we have somebody joining online from your team as well, so we appreciate that. I'm sure our council members here have a question. I'll kick it off with a question. You had mentioned earlier that you're working on training, and you're working with the National Alliance to End Homelessness training, and that's upcoming. Who exactly would be able to attend? Would we as electeds be able to do that, or just wanted to ask?
Would you want to do that?
I mean, I think we should. Yeah.
It was originally, we can certainly talk about that. It was originally intended for frontline workers who will be working directly with people who are unhoused, to really give them a framework to, especially in initial conversations, to be very housing focused. So it is intended for, all of the agencies that are working, like New Hope for Families, Wheeler Mission, Beacon, Centerstone, HealthNet, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we do have a cap on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, do we have a cap on the number of people that we can give the training to?
From my recollection, I think we have a pretty decently large cap.
So that's a possibility then.
Okay.
We'll explore it.
Okay. I was just interested because I know sometimes we as electeds have lots of opinions on things. And so since we have opinions on those things, we might not be experts and you all are. And so sometimes it's easy for us to just kind of take a chill pill and be quiet and maybe attend something like this. So if that's something that's definitely available, I think I would really think, speaking for myself here, I think I have council members that would probably take you up on that offer, and hopefully some other electeds would take you up on that offer. So
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I should also add, I meant to add this at the very beginning of my presentation. You all received a letter from our board of directors. So we are really eager, interested, happy to facilitate any kind of discussion or give you any kind of support at the policy level or convening or really anything that you think in this space you could use some help with. We're happy to do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to go to Councilmember Henry since I saw his hand raised, and then I'll kick it back to the room here.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mary Morgan and team, for giving us a presentation today. I guess I do want to say thank you for your work. I know it's really hard work. And we're dealing with another one of those wicked problems, which seems to be a phrase we've used this year, and a lot of the stuff we're facing in the community. I guess my question, and maybe something that triggered here in your presentation for me, is that the normal, the day-to-day work of housing in our community and the challenge for those that are unhoused in the community, your normal everyday work and the work that our service providers do is a matter of routine, is that outreach and that scoring and that work to really help get people on a pathway into housing attainment, which I know is not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. But it strikes me that what creates emergencies for our nonprofit community, your organization, other organizations you mentioned, what creates an emergency or urgent situation is when external stakeholders or even key stakeholders kind of disrupt your work through something like trying to clear an encampment in a certain time period, like on a timeline that kind of disrupts the flow or the normal of your work. And that sort of expedites your outreach and puts people into a scramble to try to, I guess, get people placed before the urgency comes from the choice we're making to work on the encampments. I guess to the extent you're comfortable, I'm kind of curious how we might all get on the same page with this shared objective, because it seems like the objectives are slightly disaligned or misaligned between some folks deciding on the urgency to clear things versus working with our partners that all the best practices you're trying to put in. How might we close the gap and get a shared objective here so that we don't blow up the normal work of the organizations that are trying so hard with kind of self-induced emergencies through bureaucracy? Do you have any thoughts on that tonight?
I'm really glad you asked a simple question.
Of course. It's exam season. That's what it's exam season. That's how it goes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I will say that it's been a rough couple of weeks. We really do not thrive in chaos, and I think that there's been a fair amount of chaos. What I would say is I do think that it would help the whole system if we could get the key players in a room and talk about those shared values, have better communication, and really a clear plan for when there is a crisis or when there is something that comes up. We know exactly who's involved in the decision-making tree and how we can come together to basically make it a situation that is in the best interest for not just people who are unhoused or in crisis, but also for our entire community, right? We all should have a stake in this. We should have a stake in making a community where people they have stable housing, and if they don't, they can get it quickly. So I feel like this is a very politically correct response to your question, but I do think that we have a lot of room to grow in terms of communication and planning. And I would like to see that happen and be put in place at a time when we're not in the middle of a crisis and when tempers are not heated. It's really been challenging right now, and I know that some of our service provider partners are feeling that pain, and really what they want to do, that their mission is to meet people where they are and ideally make sure that they are in a place that's stable and secure.
Okay, I'm gonna kick it here, and I saw Councilor Decker's hand raised.
I've got several, and as I always say to a lot of folks, particularly on things that are hard, if you all need to get back with me later, that's fine too. And I also understand that you're managing a lot. And I kind of want to start there. You have a large selection of folks that you're dealing with just across the board that are doing portions of housing and housing solutions in a variety of different ways. And I'm sure, having been on the United Way staff at one time, there's a variety of strong opinions about how that should be and who should get what and when. Do you see, though, and help me if this is the case, the whole purpose of what you all are doing in that plan was to try, right, to get people around some common understandings and not the service provider alphabet soup, and which is a beautiful thing. It's a bunch of people chasing after it, but to get us around a plan and get government officials around a plan and try to get us all from stopping to do what we do on every issue, and that's start inventing solutions from the opinion side of things. I mean, ultimately that was kind of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to elaborate, or?
Well, if you want to.
Well, I think one of the reasons why, well, first of all, I think there are a lot of things in the plan that nobody would disagree with until you start trying to implement them, and then people will have different opinions about how things should be implemented. So that's just part of the process. But I also think that the plan is perhaps overly broad. We have a lot in there, and you can really find almost, any kind of housing solution in that plan. So I think that it would help us to be a little more focused, perhaps, in the next go around. One of the things we did with the Monroe County Housing Action Plan was try to be extremely focused in our recommendations, which is very different from the Heading Home Plan, which is quite broad. So, but I think that it's always the devil in the details, right? So we work through it.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I think one of the things I remember when we were in candidate forums and people would say, what are your thoughts on housing? And of course, we could be talking about multiple levels of housing. One of the things I always tried to focus on was that, well, we have a plan, and yeah, things can change in that plan, but that's better than what we used to have, which was, again, all of us kind of, let me throw the football that way. I think this is something I heard in an article. One thing is, I'm looking at your dashboard, and I love the dashboard because I numbers are numbers, and I know that it's hard to get these numbers. But when I look at the dashboard, particularly when I filed it down to single adults and the actively homeless in the community, I see a pattern. I even took it down to this year, but I see a pattern from when you started this that numbers are going down. And so the first part of my question would be, why do you think those numbers were heading down? What do you think was going on that may have helped with that?
Would you feel comfortable answering that?
Sure. Thanks for the question. This is something that I've been investigating personally, and I think it contributes to a couple different things. I think any data needs other data to build around those narratives, right? And I think it's really important when looking at the active number of people experiencing homelessness on the dashboard to also look at the percentage of people being housed month to month. And we recently noticed that dip in our data, and I think it can be articulated that we also saw across our system that there are a lot of people who had outdated assessments. Generally, it's best practice to update assessments with clients every 90 days. Generally, across our region, our service providers are really generous because they want to make sure they're doing their due diligence to keep that information updated, though there are times that people disappear from the community or they self-resolve or they return to other support systems in other communities. And so that's a reason why we saw numbers decreasing as well, is because people were being moved to inactive. And that's one of the outflow categories, as well as housing. And so while we want to say, oh, there's less people experiencing homelessness, there's a deeper story to tell there, is that, well, did we just lose touch with them, or did they self-resolve? Are they stably housed now? And so that's some of my priority work, looking into the deeper narratives within our dashboard coming in 2026.
And I will add that the infusion of case managers that are doing street outreach now, we'll have more, as an agency, more street outreach workers than any other agency in our county, with the 6 street outreach folks that are embedded in our partner agencies. That will help us tremendously in not losing touch with people that are unsheltered.
And then I guess the last thing is, I was really intrigued by the notion of connecting people to, we've got a landlord, we've got a vacancy here, connecting someone in there. And obviously the attention right now is on encampments, right? Because that's how this system seems to work, where we, what is the visibility? What are everybody talking about? What's everybody fired up on? And conceivably, those kinds of matchups with, there's no monolithic answer, but those kind of matchups may offer solutions for some individuals that could go from here to here, or have the option to go from here to here and make a decision on that. I mean, am I overthinking that or underthinking it?
Do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, sure. I think yes and no. I think on paper it seems very, very simple. If we have 150 open units and we have a similar amount of people that are unsheltered in our community, why does homelessness exist? And I think one of the key things that we're starting to realize, both just having done the work a long time, I previously was at New Hope for Family, so I've been in the work a while. But just as a community, what we're realizing is that having open units and vacancy is not necessarily the barrier to having people be housed. As Mary talked about earlier, the barrier is getting into housing. It's not being able to continue to pay your rent, or to be able to not get into fights with your neighbor and get evicted, or whatever. The barrier is the stipulations and the criteria for residents or future tenants to be able to be accepted into an apartment complex or a private landlord's house is too constringent for people. You have to make 3 times the rent. You have to have a certain credit score. You have to have 650 or 700 credit score to rent a place, not to buy, not to lease, not to have a mortgage, right? Just to have a 12-month lease. You have to have no evictions, no criminal history. You have to be a perfect, upstanding person just to have a roof over your head. And that's the big barrier that we have, is not, pouring money into helping pay people's rents and deposits is helping and is doing a large amount of preventing homelessness. But a huge, bigger issue is the accessibility to stable housing.
Thank you very much. The last thing I'll just say is I appreciate just clarity around complexity, because again, you go on social media, you listen even to us, sometimes we think that we understand every bit of this. But literally in the last 5 years, I've heard very passionate, very what sounds like credible articulations around who could be outside and how long they could be outside, and what is reasonable and what is not. I've heard people argue every side of that and multiple sides beyond that with such seriousness, and that you would look at it and go, "Whoa, my heavens!" And I think that the complexity of this is just it's beyond our minds. So thank you for letting me ask a couple questions.
Thank you. Councilor Iverson.
Thank you all three for taking time out of your evening and joining us. As I've said before, the work you do is so important to this community. And I'll echo what Councilmember Crossley said, is that learning for us is paramount. We get stuff thrown at us all the time, and your website, your newsletter is really important. I pay attention to it. And I try to digest as much as I can. Obviously, as Councilmember Decker just stated, we're not perfect, but we're constantly learning. And so I appreciate that. Particularly, I heard tonight 2 interesting tidbits. Rent sometimes is 3 times income. That I haven't heard that number before. That's a really interesting number, and I believe it. But
So actually, that's a stipulation for getting into housing, is that your income must be equal to 3 times the
Yeah.
rent. So not that rent is that people are being asked to
I
pay more
misspoke,
than
yeah.
what they actually make.
but still, like that's a shocking number. Or that there's this organization called Clutch Consulting, which is coming in and talking about, their specialty is encampments. I think that's all really interesting things to learn about. And I think the previous conversation that Mary you just had with Councilmember Deckard about housing and the availability of housing, it leads me to my question I have for you tonight is, we're all reading the news, we're all listening to the news, and the availability of federal funding seems dire. What are you hearing? I'm losing sleep over this. What should we know?
I wish I could give you a clear answer on that. I think that part of the anxiety that we all feel is because we don't have a clear level from the federal government. And although the really I don't even know how to describe it. The federal government is trying to pivot very quickly from a philosophy of funding that has been in place for decades to a different philosophy, and it has just sown chaos, uncertainty, fear, and will, if implemented, I believe, lead to an increase in unhoused people. I just don't see how if we don't have those housing supports that we rely on, I don't know any other way that could unfold. So the federal government now, because of a lawsuit, has paused its decision, and HUD is not really giving any indication on what's going to happen next. So the challenge is that some of the funding cycles are coming up starting in January. I think that locally from the permanent supportive housing side, and you're on Beacon's board, I believe, so you've heard this directly from them. Their grant cycle is a bit later in the year, I think September. Centerstone, I think they said it was closer to the summer timeframe for some of their complexes. So, people are waiting and seeing and trying to advocate as much as possible with elected officials. So if you have any sway at the federal level, I would encourage you to deploy it, because right now we're at a real turning point, I think. And if this is a philosophical change that has to be made, then at the very least we need a longer lead time to make accommodations for these changes. And the current proposal, or the proposal that was pulled, was not allowing for that.
My heart goes out to folks who are living in encampments in this weather and the threat of evictions. But the main reason why I personally want to take you up on your offer to facilitate a conversation is for this reason. The future, I love your quote. It's important to be hopeful, but the future seems like we really need to start talking.
Definitely.
Thank you. All right. I thought I saw some hands here. So, Councilor Vital.
Yes, I'm interested in the income requirement for the rent. So I wondered how we might, as a county or community, compare to other communities who have situations like or not like this. And do you know any data on that? Do we compare? Do landlords elsewhere have that same requirement, or is it just kind of just here, or where is that all at?
So that's a good question. And I think many landlords have, 2.5, or 3 times the rent that you must make. I will note that multiple studies year after year show that Monroe County, across the state, Monroe County is the most unaffordable and hardest to obtain housing in the entire state. The only county that sometimes beats us out is Tippecanoe County, which is where Purdue is, West Lafayette, and usually in third place is Muncie, and I'm blanking on the county for Muncie, but where Ball State is.
Ball State. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. So these big school these counties where big schools are what are really increasing the unobtainability and unaffordability of housing. And so I do know a lot of other properties are doing, 2 times the rent and things like that as well. But the reason that we're having that trouble is because HUD sets what's fair market rent, or FMRs, and HUD, just in a conversation with a landlord I had a week or two ago, they said that HUD set their FMRs for their unit. It's actually the Retreat at Switchyard, which is a brand new property here in town, and HUD told her that the median salary in Bloomington is $52,000 a year, and so therefore they set their FMRs as such, which I think is surprising. If that is the median salary, because I think that if you've lived here long enough, you know that that's not true. But because students are here and people affiliated with the university are here, which is a wonderful thing, and the university provides so much to our economy, but because those people are kind of driving up that median salary, it then is impacting housing. And so then people who live here and are townies and are from here, but aren't affiliated with the university and don't have that kind of income, then are forced to come up to that standard as well.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Anybody else have any other final questions or comments from the heading for the heading home team? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I appreciate it, personally and on behalf of county government. Regarding your letter and your presence here, it went to not just county council, it went to the commissioners as well, I believe.
That's right.
Have you heard back from anyone in county government? I know it just went out this afternoon, and I actually saw it since I've been sitting here. So not that I'm expecting that you have, but I also know that you've offered to meet or present to the commissioners. Have you heard back from anybody in county government yet?
I haven't heard back from any of the commissioners yet, but nor have I reached out specifically directly to them yet. I have talked with, I've exchanged emails with Angie Purdy, and I told her to expect the letter, and I sent her the encampment guidance from the South Central Housing Network, and offered to meet with them, give a presentation to the commissioners if they wanted to do that. So I will be following up more directly.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm hopeful that we can work together to make things a little bit better, at least from the county government perspective on how we do this. So appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate you all taking the opportunity, given the circumstances over the past several weeks, to come in and educate us on things that you all do. And as it's been mentioned, I look forward to continuing conversations, but not just conversations, but really having those, after having the conversations, really kind of putting action to it. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And I definitely know on a level in former life, I used to work in property management for 10 years. So the fact that you have to, the deposits were always things where it killed the application process for people, because depending on your credit score, as you had mentioned before, if you had a decent credit score, you might not have needed a huge deposit. But if you didn't, if you had like bankruptcies, evictions, all of those different things, then you had to have like double or triple the amount. And usually that was something where people just kind of gave up and just, went away from that. So, but it all comes back to what we do here in Monroe County. So, and Monroe County government has a lot of work to do. We talk a lot, and so now we need to start getting some work done. So, appreciate you taking the time to plant that seed to us, and we hope folks across the hall here will take you up on your offer, and you get to present to them again.
Right.
All right. So, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, council members. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next, back up, we got item 8, and it looks like we're going to the hire and freeze conversations.
Council, as a reminder, this item was tabled from the December 9th meeting. I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the auditor's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and to be allowed to hire in Fund 1000-0002 County General Auditor, the internal auditor position.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and we see the auditor here. Ms. Gregory, hello.
Hello, good evening, council. So this is coming back before you today, and I'm hoping will be an easy and brief conversation. This is a position that was part of the exempt list when this hiring freeze was implemented. Unfortunately, I was just unable to find a qualified candidate prior to my November 1 deadline. So this is just requesting your permission to continue what you've kind of already improved initially, to proceed with finding a good candidate for this role, which is, it does take some time. This is a specialized position, and it is very important for the county. This is an added layer of control, and this person conducts, obviously internal audits for the county, but assists with the budgets. It consists with assists with audits, with report compilation, and all kinds of other things that assist the county to ensure we are on the right path. So I'm happy to answer any questions or specifics, but I do want to note that we do have the support of FSG, Financial Solutions Group, who the county contracts with for financial guidance, and they think this position is very important as well. I forwarded that email to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And look in the council to see if anybody has any questions. I saw Councilor Henry's hand raised first, so you go first, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Auditor, for the explanation there. I'm supportive of getting this position filled, and it seems to me over the past few weeks, it's all the more important to have the internal auditor role filled when we look at, for example, the way the commissioners attempted to use the cumulative capital fund during the encampment discussion last week, or the work your office is doing to help the Board of Health sort through its, I guess it's nearly $1 million in grants that are kind of messy in that office over the past year. The internal controls are important. So, it's sort of a core function here. So we understand what our bottom line is. So the only thing I'll say maybe is another comment too, is that I think as we look at all of the variations on the freeze or the exemptions on the freeze, that we really do need to work with department heads to start thinking through if we're hoping for attrition over the next calendar year to reduce the budget in positions, we need to work with department heads on what that means, rather than just kind of hoping that positions go away through attrition. I know that's been raised a few times here, but it kind of feels like reaching under the hood of the car and just yanking out pieces indiscriminately, rather than trying to figure out over the next calendar year how we might be able to work with department heads on the savings we're going to need in subsequent fiscal years to help in our workforce here to keep everybody employed. So I'm supportive of this one, and I hope the others are as well. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, looking here at the dais to see if anybody has any questions or comments. Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
Since Councilor Henry brought up kind of the bigger picture, I wanted to chime in and say that I agree that we need to be more strategic about how we're doing this and what we're thinking. And I know we've put a lot of thought into it. I'm not trying to say that we haven't, but this is part of what I envisioned that our long-term financial committee would be talking about and thinking about. And I think it might be worth, as we move to the new year, new committees, new whatever, thinking about redefining or expanding the role that that committee has in looking at literally what is it over the next 3 to 5 years that we're trying to get to in terms of budgeting and what are our revenues. And I know that's not, I'm not saying that that committee has not worked on that. It's just we need a little bit more, I think. And I think this falls under that. Also, we have two resolutions that we are operating under right now, do the KSA and the hiring freeze, do both of those expire at the end of this month?
Correct.
Okay. And we do not have anything on our agenda to really talk about those, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. To the bud.
Okay, I was looking, I
It's
get,
getting like the discussion.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? I know staff, we've been trying to schedule for a while now, and with FSG, a long-term finance committee meeting. So hopefully we can do that, and get in contact. It's not like staff isn't, trying. I'm not saying that that's not what you were saying, but it's a little difficult to find people this time of year.
Yes.
You know, I think people get on autopilot after Thanksgiving. So, you know, staff, we're definitely trying to think about that. Yes. And to both the counselors' points, we definitely need to hit 2026, you know, hit the ground running with a lot of things that we have mentioned that we'd like to do with this past budget season, what we have to implement going forward. So appreciate that comment. All right. So seeing no other questions or comments from council, we will move to public comment. If you have public comment on this item, you can raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay. Next up is item B.
Council, as a reminder, this item was tabled from the December 9th meeting, and I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the Parks Department's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire in Fund 1000-0803 County General Parks 11 part-time positions and 3 part-time Karst Athletic Complex supervisors for the 2026 year.
Second.
Okay. We have Ms. Whitman here joining us again. Welcome. Hello.
Well, thank you. Do you want me to go over what we talked about last week, which is absolutely fine?
I think if you want to hit some highlights, because we had a very robust
Excellent.
conversation.
I will hit the highlights. The Karst Athletic Complex supervisors will probably work March through November. It's one person for 25 acres. They do everything from calling the ambulance, making sure everyone's playing well together. They operate our adult soccer league. And obviously they can't be everywhere, but we usually try to prioritize the fields that they should concentrate on. The park maintenance technicians, they do everything for us. They allow our full-time staff who are highly skilled as our mechanics, our plumbers, our electricians, snowplow drivers, heavy equipment operators do their things to keep the park safe. So if we don't have part-time staff, those 8 staff members have to backfill the lower skilled things, which means we will be closing the splash pad. We will be closing the restrooms on and off depending on what's going on that week. We're a 35-hour department with 8 staff, which means we are never fully staffed all week. They're on FMLA, they may be sick, they may have an injury, they're on benefit time. So now we could be down to 6 people to run the entire park system. We will obviously prioritize the athletic complex and toilets. And that's where we're at. We have, which means the greenways. We can't do what we're doing now. Disc golf course, the dog park. A lot of things are going to shrink. And the park board will want a list of everything so they can know what's going on. And the park board has instructed me to make sure I put a 1-page notice up so the public knows what's closing and why they're closing. And we can't do anything about it because we're not magicians here. We can't make things happen without people. And we can't do any construction at the Monroe County Nature Preserve, which has funding for us to be the general contractor to save the county $1 million. So
That's where we're at. Is that fast enough? Okay.
It is, yes. Appreciate that. Thank you. Nice recap. All right. Any questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
I wanted to just draw your attention to the email that Michelle forwarded today. I know it was late in the game, but kind of went over some information about these positions and why we're in sort of that rehire situation, and kind of give some background. So if you haven't, I'm happy to go into it, but it's policy.
Maybe you should. Maybe.
Okay. I feel like I'm giving testimony on hearsay or something, like, right?
You got this.
So at the park board meeting, we talked amongst ourselves about the nature of the positions and the fact that it is HR policy in the county to take seasonal positions and basically terminate the employees who are filling those positions in the off season and then go through the process of rehiring. And since no one at the meeting really knew why, our county legal department conversed with our employee services department and kind of summarized the reasonings, which I know we have employee services here, and I do want to just say if I get it wrong, we might need some help. But the reasoning rests on a lot of things that can happen, I guess, in the off season that we wouldn't necessarily know about and be able to account for if we kept people hired but weren't interacting with them, like something that might show up on a background check, for instance. So this enables us to check in, I guess, in that way on employees before they are installed in the position. That's the one major one that I remember. There's also like kind of a tracking aspect to it. So if somebody just doesn't come back, that would be harder to know that. And so this allows our employee services folks to really better track who in the payroll list is actually being paid, and working, and that kind of thing. Did I get that right? Do you need to add? I'm trying really hard here, sorry.
You did
I think there
good.
were 3 things and I named 2 poorly.
On the fly, you did good.
Yeah, and so I think that Justin was trying to give you the highlights, but I could list probably 50 reasons why keeping accurate records are really important for us. And so that's the gist of that, is that it was mentioned by a department earlier in these conversations, like, why don't we just make them inactive and then make them reactive? Because we can't do that. State Board of Accounts requires us to have a form for every change that we make in payroll, because they audit all of the entries that we make in payroll. So part of that process is filling out a termination form. So then we make them inactive, and then to make them reactive, they fill out a new hire form. And those are the forms that we have, because those are the forms that we already use for those same purposes. So that's kind of, and we have to report the things for lots of reasons.
That was the other one, yeah.
We have to report our payroll, our employee data for a variety of reasons. And some of that is for employees' benefit. We do public student loan forgiveness verification of employment. We do loan verification of employment. There's just a lot of things that we do that are based on keeping accurate records. And that's why it's really important for us to be able to pinpoint if somebody didn't work for 6 months, we need to know that information, and that's how we document it. Also really important if a department didn't bring, if we kept them active and department didn't bring them back, then our roster of people just keeps growing and growing, and it leaves more room for error, both on the department when they're processing payroll. They might try and pay somebody who isn't working, and then on our side when we're processing payroll, to make sure that those inactive, those people who aren't working, aren't showing up, that we could, it's an internal control. We just talked about the importance of that. So that's the gist of why we do this process. Does that help?
And probably, and I don't know without looking at the numbers, we probably rehire 80% of the same people. And they come back year after year. And we have to do this every November and rehire them and do all the stuff.
I wonder about the expense of associated. Are there, I mean, I'm assuming there's a cost to these processes. And I'm not trying to, I am throwing a wrench in things.
No,
I
understand. I will tell you, the cost of an error is more costly than having departments consistently do the same thing. That is where we're coming from. If a department turns in payroll to pay somebody who shouldn't have been paid, the cost of us trying to get that money back is going to cost us, the legal department, it just involves more people. So us having policies that we apply consistently to all departments, making sure they're doing all of the same things, that's easier for us because we are expecting the same things consistently than having to be like, this department does it this way, and this department, and when you have turnover, and then things that institutional knowledge doesn't really get translated. So consistency for us is the cost effectiveness.
Councilor Decker.
I just had an inquiry point, but for E, if I understand it right, we're in this freeze discussion, and this first part's just rhetorical. We're in the freeze discussion because of the state cuts. On the flip side, you're essentially saying there's a million reasons why this has to be done as a rehire process, but bottom line, State Board of Accounts requires form to release, form to do, right?
That is correct. I mean, the auditor's office could tell you that when we have an audit, I mean, they're asking for a million types of forms for us to document why we did a certain thing.
Well, so just to kind of cut to the chase, I mean, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, and in the audience, Pharaoh has spoken. There's no other, everything else here is just debating whether or not you want to, well, do you want to take a bathroom break or anything else that the state might permit? This is literally a requirement from them.
I mean, it's a CYA kind of thing, right? That's why we have forms, and that's why we go through those processes, because eventually the auditor's office is going to ask me, do you have these things that match this thing over here? And then I will have to produce that information.
Okay. I have other comments, but I don't have to now, but I'll jump. Or, Kate, I didn't cut. Well, and you know, I wrangle with all this, and Kate raises an interesting point. I'd love to have a giant tally like you would if you were talking to an attorney on hours spent trying to comply with state law. I'd love to have that, because then we could send that again to Pharaoh, and then we could get that taken care of.
And that takes time to calculate too.
Exactly, and that's hours. And I mean, literally, if you look at the last two meetings we had, we rocked that bell till the midnight hour. And there was a time I'd be in downtown and might hear that bell, but not inside this building. And that has changed, and that's all because of all this. One thing I just want to say bottom line on this, I think we're kind of going around in the circle about whether or not to do it. And somebody said something to me one time that really hit home for me, both experientially and just life. And Kelly, it may have been you when I was out visiting parks, but the parks are the great equalizer in this community. Because if you think about it, to go in a state park, you have to pay a fee, right? To go to an amusement park, you definitely are gonna have to pay a fee. A lot of our families, particularly right now, they'll never be able to get to an amusement park. To go join a sports team at school, the kids gotta raise money or pay a fee. Yet we generally have a large set of lands that have been established by our 4 county people who set those aside our duty is to take care of them with a little bit of elbow grease, maintenance, and good wisdom from that table right there, so that in 20 years, the next ones at this table have guaranteed that for future. And I just worry that sometimes we start needling into cuts, and then suddenly we're not going to have some of this stuff that somebody toughed it out. The cool thing about the Parks Department that I always like is you don't get those shelter houses for free. Now, some people try to squat, right, and do that.
Not often.
But not often.
And
But
they're reasonably priced, so
Yes.
everyone has a chance.
yes. And so we've got access for folks, but they're trying to make sure some revenue comes in so that there's things maintained. But the bottom line is, it's just like Lisa Ridge and Roads. If you don't maintain it, then it becomes a disaster. And the other thing is, and I've seen this before, and Kelly could write a book on it, if you don't update the parks per the clientele, and guess what? We have a lot of people that want to make sure it's got the latest greatest. We can't ever afford always the latest greatest, but they want that. If you don't do that, they'll say, well, it's not safe. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. What are you doing with my tax dollars? So I always worry when things like this start to get up on the chopping block, because this is the only chance. Somebody may not make the South football team for a variety of reasons, but they can go to Cars Park as many times as they want, as long as that gate's open on a normal hour. And I think that's, if nothing else from county government, young people, that may be what they get. Flatwoods out there, that is the last stop for a good park. There's tons of snakes, which I don't appreciate, but that's my business. But that's your last stop. And then, I know that the new park is the one that is controversial, but Peter and the East Side kids, they don't always get lots of anything. And if we don't do something now, that won't be a karst in 20 to 30 or 40 or 50 years, or Kate for that matter, on the East Side. So, I mean, there's things and there's things, but it's just, I worry that we're trying to, again, squeeze Pharaoh's money here out of something that's not going to come.
Oh, and I bet you that quote came from Jeff McKim.
On Pharaoh?
No.
The equalizer.
That sounds like him.
It probably was. He's a pretty smart guy. City knew that.
No, you're fine. All right. Any other questions or comments or any group names to give today? Nope. All right. Seeing none. Public comment time. If you have public comment on this particular item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat E. Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yeah.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Thank you, and I forgot, this is Andy French.
Thank you.
Our park superintendent,
Andy.
who works very hard.
Appreciate it.
And you all may not know that we get called out the same time as the highway garage for snow plowing, and we take care of the jail and the youth services and all the things. And we may have to close the parks in order to continue. This is what we do, and people don't appreciate, because they don't know they're out there doing that at 1 a.m. too.
We appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you. Have a good night. All right. All right, next up is item C, the Highway Department.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval the Highway Department's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire in Fund 1197-0000 Stormwater Management, the Stormwater Equipment Operator position and/or a Stormwater/Highway position vacancy that results from a possible internal department hire for the 2026 year.
Second.
All right, and joining us tonight in person is Miss Lisa Ridge. Welcome.
Good evening. So I was thinking I was a tabled item after those two tabled items, and I was like, oh, you don't need to hear this again, but no, it's the first. So this position became vacant on 11/21/2025. The employee seeked employment at a different location. This is not paid out of the county general fund. It's out of the stormwater fund, so it doesn't affect anything in the county general. The reason why we need to keep moving forward and fill these positions, one of the current equipment operators that we have on staff is out on FMLA, possibly leaving for a 90-day leave at the first of the year. Another employee in stormwater is going to take the 6-week family leave in March. The position is also used for snow removal. We use the whole stormwater crew. They're assigned a route. So without the employees in those positions, those routes are not covered. It takes other employees more time to get the roads cleared because there's not anybody in that position to take that route. So we have to find different ways to cover those areas when we don't have that position filled. It's already a small crew, so replacing the position is in the best interest of the department and the public. With the award of the CCMG that was announced on December 1st, this crew does consistent work for getting those roads prepped by ditching. They have a grade all. We use that crew to prep all these roads before we pave. So we do utilize them. So that's kind of the reasons why we would like to fill this position. I anticipate that this is an equipment operator position. We are a collective bargaining unit, so we are required to post that position, if it's approved, to be filled in-house for 7 days. I anticipate that there will be employees in-house to apply for that are current truck drivers in the highway out of the MVH fund. And we do a skills and test, ability test for running equipment. I would foresee somebody moving up into that position, leaving open an MVH position. So I don't know if it's approved. Do I have to come back and start this cycle again? When 2 weeks ago you approved me to fill the highway positions that I have filled. We have our last employee starting tomorrow, but this could start that cycle again. It's my understanding we might have a mechanic that will be possibly leaving in January. I'll be right back for that MVH position also. Again, none of these positions are in the general fund, county general. It does not affect your deficit that you're trying to fix. It's just, I see this cycle, we've gone through it for years, that with this hiring freeze, it's possible I'm going to keep coming back. So,
okay.
If you have any questions.
All right, thank you for that. And given the circumstances of early snow season, that's an important.
Very expensive week when I did payroll yesterday.
I could only imagine. And we're not even in winter yet. Well, yeah, winter officially starts Sunday. All right, that being said, do we have any questions or comments for Ms. Ridge on this item? I feel like okay. Shocker. So again, so your concern is because none of these positions are in the general fund, because you'll have some potential movement that will be happening because of, people potentially that are already employed filling those, which is a good thing, by the way. At least we're keeping people. This will kind of restart the clock. So it almost sounds like, from what I hear, maybe 3 potentially.
So how I think this will play out is I believe that a truck driver will move into the stormwater equipment operator position if it's filled. That would leave me of posting a truck driver position and still leaving the one open that I said I would not fill. And then if the mechanic gives their notice, I would have that one to post. So I ultimately see that we could have a truck driver and a mechanic position open in January.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, we appreciate that, and as there are no questions, yes, Michelle.
So the way that the motion was typed up, so that based on what she submitted, is you would approve her to fill that position, and if it is internal, she could go ahead and move forward with filling that position that that would become vacant due to that internal. So that would take care of one step that she's asking about. So if you approve that for this, she could go ahead, make that internal move, and then go ahead and post that truck driver position. So that's what the script motion has stated.
Okay,
She
got
would
it.
have to come back
Or if
for
that's perfectly
for
fine.
the mechanic then
Yeah.
later. But that will take care of, I wrote it that way on purpose after reading what she had submitted. So if you
Okay.
want
That
to do
would-
it different
that would
and
be
have her
great.
come back,
No,
then-
yeah, okay. And I think that helps. Well, again, the mechanic is still not in general fund. Is that?
No, it's not.
That's
And
right.
I have no problem of waiting for that. I know I have agenda items to come to you on the January 27th meeting.
Right.
So I have doing it with the truck driver and the equipment operator. That would be perfect for me.
Okay, okay, all right. Just making sure we're trying to be a little easygoing there. Okay, all right. I appreciate that, and thank you, Michelle, for clarifying that. Okay, so seeing no other further questions or comments on this item, we'll go to public comment. If you have public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, next up on the agenda.
I think we're in new business, correct? No ongoing business?
That is correct.
All right, council, I move to approve the commissioner's request in Fund 4900-0000 Employee Morale, the creation of account line 30185 Employee Promotion, and simultaneously approve an additional appropriation of $4,922.45 in the services category.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, and I don't.
I'm actually gonna cover this.
Oh, okay, okay. Your voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is money that's from the vending machine, and the commissioners often use this money to do something for employees for Christmas, and so they're asking for the appropriation to be eligible to do that this year.
All right, Counselor Feidel.
So do all employees then benefit from this fund?
Typically, what they've done in the past is like donuts or fudge or cookies that get delivered to each individual office so that all employees can benefit.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I see faces, but I see none. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to public comment on this item. If you could come forward to the lectern here in the Nat Hill room, if you have public comment on this item, please do so or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item B.
Council, I move to approve the Employee Service Department's request in Fund 4700-0000 Self-Insurance, an additional appropriation of $3,338,893.31 in the services category.
Second.
Okay, we have E joining us. Hello.
Hello. Let me start by saying I don't need $3 million. Yeah. At the time that I made this request, due to all the timing of when that request is due, there were 3 Anthem invoices that were going to be coming our way. Since that time when I submitted this request, we received and paid 2 of those invoices. So currently in that fund, so the way that this works is when we receive an invoice, we pay a portion of that invoice from a line called Anthem Contractual, and then we pay the rest of the invoice from what is a line that's called Health Insurance Claims. That's the bulk of where the invoice comes from. Typically, at this time of the year, we're seeing a credit in the contractual portion of things because we've met stop loss, and I saw your face. We met stop loss and things like that, so we're getting credits back from that. And so at this point in the health insurance claims line, thanks to the auditor's office for working this week, they transferred every single dollar that I had available in other lines because we've paid all of our invoices into this line. So we have a remaining funds of $318,409. We have one invoice left that will come in on Friday. I am hopeful that that will cover what comes in. I am fearful that it will not. And so that's why I'm here, because it is possible our invoice that we received 2 weeks ago was, for the claims part of things, was around $400,000. The one we received 2 weeks before that was around 100 or 200,000. So I recognize we've talked about this all year long about wanting to understand and being able to predict what's coming. And at this point in the year, I just can't do that for an invoice coming in basically in the last possible minute that the auditor's office can process it to ensure. And that invoice is due before the end of the year. We have 7-day terms for a turnaround, which due to the holidays, it will still be before the end of the year. So this is purely an administrative task where I need some more money from you to make sure that I can pay that invoice that comes in on Friday. It needs to be paid no matter what. I would like to make that happen in this year so it's not a next year problem. And eating into the appropriations that we have for next year. All that to say, the number, I don't know what that number is. I think I would feel confident if in the highest claim that we paid in the health insurance line this year was $1 million. I guess I'm thinking that if we could have the health insurance line balance be $1 million, so that if that is what comes through on Friday, that I could pay it. I know that's not, I don't have concrete numbers to give you. I've tried to get information from Anthem, but I just can't. I don't have that information to give you before this conversation. So that I don't know. I'll answer questions, and then maybe we can come to an agreement on what I might need.
All right, thank you for that. And I saw hands raised, so I'm going to go Councilor Iverson, and then I'll flip it to Councilor Vital.
My question is directed at staff. Is there a number that I need to amend the motion, or do you think we're okay with what was read out in the motion?
You'll need to amend per the request because her current balance in that fund is not $3 million. So.
Yeah, I suppose that if that's the way you want it to go and you just want to appropriate the cash balance, I can give you that number too. Okay. What I have current cash balance, and Kim, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, or somebody, try and find it on my paper. I passed it. $2,644,935.79. Yes. Okay, cool.
Say that one more time.
$2,644,935.79.
Yeah, Councilor Iverson.
Council, I move to amend my motion to a new number, which is $2,644,935.79.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on that amendment. All right. Counselor, I'll go to Counselor Vital, and then I'll go to Counselor Henry next.
So am I understanding it correctly that this will be the last payment for this year, whatever we appropriate now?
Correct.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Do we need to vote on that amendment, or is?
Yes, sorry. That's my fault. Sorry. Any questions or comments on the amendment to change that number? Counselor, okay, I wasn't sure if that was why your hand was raised. Okay, yes.
Could we restate the amount on the amendment, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $2,644,935.79. 2,644,935.79.
Okay. So if there's no other further questions on that amendment, I'll go to public comment. Public comment, raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right. And seeing none, we'll need to have a roll call vote.
See Councilor Henry's hand up.
I think it's on the overall.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, for the amendment, Councilor Wiltz.
Yes.
Councilor Henry.
Yes.
Councilor Deckard.
Yes.
Councilor Crossley.
Yes.
Councilor Feidel.
Yes.
And Councilor Iverson. Motion passes unanimous, 6-0 on the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll come back to overall. Now I'll go back to Councilor Henry.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my question is more forward-leaning into next year, because I know we've done a few of these settlement votes here in the last quarter, and they are seven-figure votes. What's the forecast for next year on this? E, do you have a sense of what our year ahead looks like? I know at a previous commissioners meeting, I called in to say that I really do think council should be talking with APACS and commissioners administrator and you as you look at contracts from year to year, just so we understand the risk. But do you have a crystal ball for next year on what this cost looks like for us?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I have talked with both Apex and the clinic, and they do annual reports where they're evaluating the health, Apex specifically, the health of the plan, the health of the employees, all the things that we can factor into things that will accrue costs for us. And I've thought about you all as part of that reporting, and I'm asking them to put together extra information and to share with you so that we can make some decisions. I think looking forward, we have a lot of thoughts about some things we can implement that will create some cost savings. I think we've mentioned some of those in various meetings that we've been in. But looking forward, those conversations will need to happen early on in the year, because by July we're starting to talk about those contracts for next year and renewal rates and all those types of things. So I'm hopeful we can get you some information. Typically the annual reports, once they've compiled them, like end of February, beginning of March is when that stuff's available. Does that help?
Okay. Yes. Any other questions or comments on this item from council? Okay, and seeing none, I'll go back to public comment for the overall public comment. If you have public comment, come raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right, and seeing none, may we please? I'm sorry.
I just have a question for you. I want to make this what you need it to be. I don't want, I recognize I'm coming at the last minute asking you to do this thing. If maybe you could, in your conversations, figure out what's the process you would like this to be for me to provide some consistency. And this is the first year we've appropriated this fund, so we're kind of figuring things out as we go. You tell me how you would like this when we're coming to year end and having these conversations, what you want that to look like. I will do my best to work with that and make it something that is beneficial for everybody. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and may we please have a roll call vote?
Councilor Deckard.
Yes.
Councilor Feidel.
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz.
Yes.
Councilor Henry.
Yes.
Councilor Crossley.
Yes.
Councilor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And back up, item C, but we have Highway Department coming back again.
That's right, Council. I'll be combining highway items C and D into one motion. So I move to approve the Highway Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash of $212.50 from Fund 9174-0000 Lake and River Enhancement, or Larry, to Fund 1197-0000 Stormwater Management, and simultaneously in Fund 9174-0000 Lake and River Enhancement, or Larry, approve an additional appropriation of $3,600 in the services category.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Ridge is back. What do you have to tell us about Larry or Layer?
Layer.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can call it. You can call it Larry if you want. That's the first time I've heard that. So, so I'm here to correct the Larry grant. There's a lot of moving parts in this grant anyway, so that's it. It's kind of fitting. So we had a lot of players in this. We had soil and water. We had property owners contributing their portion because part of it was on private property. We had stormwater contributing their portion. So the work has been completed. We received the grant funds. This is just to finish out cleaning up the last part of it, moving that fund to fund because that was part of the local match, not part of the grant. So it's basically, so we want to get this done before the end of the year, so it can be closed out.
All right, thank you for that. And I already saw a hand raise, and Councilor Wiltz, you're up.
Could you give a brief description of the project, just so the public kind of knows?
So they were 2 log jam cleanups, and basically when you get that on the within these creek areas and such, then you can create a flooding in the areas. So the Stormwater Department applied for the LAIR grant, received that. I think it was a max of $25,000. So we worked out with the property owner, soil and water. Then we hired a contractor. I believe at the time it was Bluestone. And then when it was dry enough for them to get their equipment, then they removed those log jams. So that way it keeps everything flowing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments from council? And seeing none, we'll go to public comment. Raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk, or beg pardon, Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next up is item E from the Sheriff's Department.
Council, I'll be combining Sheriff's items E and F into one motion. I move to approve the Sheriff's Fund, request in Fund 1000-0005, County General Sheriff, a de-appropriation of $5,498.50 in the personnel category, and simultaneously approve in Fund 8103-0000, Operation Pullover, an additional appropriation of $5,498.50 in the personnel category.
Second.
All right. And we have Jamie here. Welcome. Hello.
Hello. Just end of the year housekeeping. That's all it is, really, just moving the funds around.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. Raise your hand via Teams or come to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room for this item. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Next up is item G.
Council, I move to approve the Sheriff's request in Fund 4107-0000 Donation Sheriff, the creation of account line 30014 Other Services, and simultaneously approve an additional appropriation of $15,000 in the services category.
Second.
Okay, anything to add here?
This is just, occasionally we have the public that comes in and donates money to the sheriff's office. And sometimes they say it's at the sheriff's discretion. Sometimes they have something specific that they want us to use the funds for. It's never been utilized before, and we would like to start using that, or have the ability to.
Okay. Look at that. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from council? Yes, Counselor Feidel.
So about how long has this amount been accumulating?
Well, do we know, Bree, how long this has been created?
I don't off the top of my head, but we could definitely get that information for you.
Okay, just curious.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this item from council? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
I just feel the need, since Councilor Hawk isn't here, to state the obvious that you can't spend what you don't have. So we're appropriating 15, but you have 14,735 according to, so.
Those are set the guidance of the auditor's office. It can be amended to what is actually in there.
You want us to amend it? Okay. Could we amend it to, yeah.
Yes, Councilor Iverson.
Okay, council, I move to amend the motion to a new number, which is $14,735.92.
I concur.
Okay, we got the motion and a second on that. Any other further question or comment from council? All right, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote on this friendly amendment?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
And Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, we gotta do the
sorry.
overall. No, you're good. That was, all right. Any other questions or comments? And thanks, Councilor Wilt, for keeping the spirit of Councilor Hawk going. All right, and seeing none, we'll have public comment. You can raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, next up is item H for HAVA from the auditor's office.
How'd you think I was going to say it?
I don't know.
Harvey?
I just like to say
All right, council, I'll be combining the auditor's items H and I into one motion. I move to approve the auditor's request in Fund 8956-0000, the HAVA grant, a de-appropriation of $35,873 in the capital category, and simultaneously in Fund 8958-0000, HAVA grant, approve the creation of account line 4001 equipment with an additional appropriation of $35,873 in the capital category.
Second.
Okay, and I'll look to the auditor for this. Hello, what do you have for us on the HAVA grant? I just like saying like
It's a fun word, right?
Yeah.
Yes, this is just a really simple housekeeping item. We're just asking for your assistance with correcting a small error. Unfortunately, this is the only way to correct. We clicked the wrong box when setting up this fund. And unfortunately, it's not just a simple fix where we can unclick and click the correct one. We have to totally add a new fund and kind of start from scratch, which is not a big deal, but it's just, you know, coming here and presenting to you and explaining we need to deappropriate, then reappropriate.
Understand.
We did work with the with Lau, our financial software company, and confirmed this is the only way to do it, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. Seems understandable, but does anybody have any questions or comments from the auditor on this? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. Raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
And Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
All right, and because we combine those, we'll go to item J, the added one.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request in Fund 8950-0000, American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, an in-house transfer of $8,550 from account line 36710, ARPA Septic Assistance, to account line 36714, ARPA Program Support in the Services category.
Second.
Okay, and yes.
Yes, thank you for accommodating us and adding this to the agenda. We appreciate your support. This is just to transfer from one project line into another already established project line. Currently, the auditor's budget has supported an invoice of a little over $1,500 for our outside administrative support from Baker Tilly. And this will just move some excess funding from a project that's not going to be able to fully utilize into that line. So it's not coming out of the county's general fund. So it is in the best interest of the county if you're willing to approve.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from council on this item? No. All right. And the only thing I would just add is a year from now, we will have to figure out a plan to make sure that everything that we did through ARPA is spent down to the penny, because this all has to be done by December 31st of 2026. And so considering how fast this year went, it would be very helpful. I know we kind of mentioned it earlier this year, to try to have a follow-up joint meeting with the commissioners to do a plan to talk about some of that, or to have an update rather on some of that, because I thought, if my memory serves me well, that there were some things that we were thinking that we would switch and change. And so I would really hope that we wouldn't wait until next year's grand finale to scramble and try to figure out, because that's actually something we did last year where we kind of had to scramble this year for it. I think I saw the auditor's hand raised again.
Yeah, thank you for noting that. We would like to address this, at the very minimum by, the midpoint of the year, preferably before. We like to be proactive rather than reactive. So having that plan in place, something in our pocket, just so we know how we're going to proceed if and when projects do come in under budget. And we would hate to give back these resources that we can certainly utilize, rather than, expending on a well-deserved, already approved project, right? So.
Yeah. So maybe that's something that we can, I don't know if maybe we can pass on the message to commissioners. I know sometimes we need to make sure that they get our information from our meetings. So I just wanted to, I guess, I think that maybe that would be a good idea for us to do. Maybe first quarter is to have a meeting to kind of go over projects. Mm-hmm. And then just as you were saying, for that midpoint year, to kind of figure out maybe right before budget. That would be very helpful to figure out what we still have and to kind of finalize as we enter the fourth quarter of next year to make sure everything is kind of put in play.
Yes, we did provide a very basic update of where we are now, but we would like to have a little bit more of a formal presentation at the beginning of the year, just to kind of start us off along that path, and then we can reassess later in the first quarter, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. I think that will get us on the right track. And we have communicated with the commissioner's office, and we hope that the plan update, the ARPA plan update, will be on their agenda for Thursday. I'm not certain if it is or not, but I know that it is on their radar.
Okay. Yeah, since both bodies have to do all of that, I definitely think that we need to make sure that we schedule that joint meeting with them. So, all right. Any other questions or comments related to this item? All right. Seeing none, if there's public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Next up, since we moved to item 11 and we're done with that, we'll go to item 12, which is the county council business. And we'll start with item A, which is a resolution approval.
Council, as a reminder, this item was tabled from the December 9th meeting. I move to approve Resolution 2025-54, a resolution pledging support to the BEDC, or the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation.
Second.
All right. I'm looking to our council attorney to see if you wanted to start off anything first. Okay. All right. And I see we have a BEDC representative here. Clark, please go ahead.
Well, good evening, Council. My name is Clark Greiner. I'm the interim president for the BEDC, and it's certainly a pleasure to be here this evening. I want to thank you for considering funding appropriations to support economic development efforts in Monroe County. The BEDC has served as the primary community organization for economic development on the business retention, attraction, and expansion for Monroe County. And over the time that I've been with the BEDC over the last 6 years, we've tried to function in that capacity as a sole economic development organization for the county. As you know, BEDC, our membership, has over 117 members. We continue to try to grow that. And our members are made up of most of the major traded sector employers such as Cook, Medical, Cook Group, Simtra, Phoenix Closure, and then other community partners such as the IU Health, Indiana University, Monroe County, the City of Bloomington, Ellettsville. And our board leadership consists of and includes organizations such as Smithville, Forbes, IU Credit Union, Cook Group, Weddle Brothers, just to name a few. It is our goal to really help bring prosperity to the citizens of Monroe County, which I know that's consistent with what you guys endeavor to do as well. I want to give you a little information about some of the history of what the BEDC has done over the past 5 years. If you look at our budget and added all those dollars up and then divided that by the amount of capital investment we had, for every $1 that you invested in the BEDC, it led to $289 in capital investment back into all of Monroe County. That resulted in more than 900 plus new jobs and more than $1 billion in that capital expenditure investment. And consistent with that, we are still on target with our 2024 through 2026 business strategy, which is in place, and that's one of our primary economic drivers for leading us forward on that. But as you know, plans and economic development is dynamic. It's not static. And if you look at that, when we first drafted that plan, there were things that have popped up since then. Some of them are tariffs, which wasn't around when we were really talking about that. Some of the tech innovation, there's more and more information being talked about that. Also, one that we're dealing with that's top of mind right now is the SEA 1. We're addressing that and some of the changes that it makes. We confront those things and try to adjust and adapt to those as we go about our economic development initiatives. And of course, then on the positive side here, Big Ten champions, go Hoosiers, that's very exciting. A Heisman winner, again, very exciting. And we have one of the coolest coaches in all of college football. So we have a lot to be proud about our community. I want to just kind of review some of the things that have happened in 2025. Simtra purchased the former GE site in July of 2025. That was a major redevelopment. Many of you up there had an opportunity to kind of look at that facility ahead of time. And as we drive there now, by it now, how exciting is that to see? Those are efforts that the BEDC has been involved with, and that started way back when we fostered those initial relationships with Simtra, their growth and expansion after they acquired the Baxter operation. So we've been engaged for some time on that. I also wanted to talk about some of the other actions and things that we're doing right now. We have also attracted a company called Envoy. They're a Canadian-based company. They are right now leasing space in the existing Phoenix Closure facility. We hope that in the not too distant future that they'll be constructing the building to house their employees and to continue to grow and expand. Another company that we've also attracted here recently to the Monroe County Airport is a company called Swift Energetics and Engineering. And that's been a very exciting thing. They're still in their initial growth stage, so we're still working with them on critical issues and stuff. One of the things I also wanted to point out really quick, and this is very exciting, over the last 6 months, the airport has been the BEDC, along with airport leadership, has been engaged with multiple different organizations that are looking at the airport as a potential home for their business growth and expansion. It's super exciting. If you look at everything that's been involved in that, this could potentially lead to hundreds and hundreds of new jobs, high-paying jobs out there. So some of the technology, the innovation that's happening out at the airport and that's in the aviation industry and aerospace industry is very dynamic, and the Monroe County Airport has positioned it well, themselves well to be able to do that. I've been involved with them and attending a lot of their board meetings so that we become very familiar with that what goes on and what takes place out there. So we want to use the funds that you're considering appropriating to continue to level up, to offer, again, prosperity back to the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming this evening and explaining that to us. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments? And Councilor Fido's hand is up. Go ahead.
So I remember last week when we had this on the agenda the first time that, as I remember it, we tabled it because we wanted more information about some of the developments that had been occurring in BEDC. And honestly, I don't feel like I know much. And I think that's disappointing as a partner in this endeavor, if you want to call us that I don't know what's going on. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And Councilor Henry has his hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Clark, for presenting a little bit about the year in review there and what's going on at the airport. I agree that there's a lot of excitement and opportunity with our Board of Aviation. I know a few of us have been involved in those conversations. I guess for me, as someone who suggested tabling last week, and we had tabled this item to get some of that feedback, I'm content with what I've heard here today. It's a pretty good ROI to have a $30,000 a year donation yield. The work that you all do for the county on economic development that otherwise we'd have to bring in-house and have an FTE with benefits doing that work. So I'm good with that moving forward. But I will say, as I think about our donations generally, I guess this has nothing to do with BEDC, but we conveyed through resolution our desire to do a donation last week to the Board of Commissioners that somehow didn't happen. There was not clarity on why that item was removed from their claims, because we did communicate our intent about another donation. I guess I'm just maybe as a point of information for staff, how, if we do vote in favor of our resolution to make this donation, how does that get into the commissioners' docket for Thursday, so they understand that we have a resolution that is saying words that shows our intent? Does it get in that packet, or how is that presented in that meeting on Thursday? I'd hate to see us go through another round of our intent not being clear, because we clearly wrote a resolution to that effect. Can staff answer that?
For resolutions, it's included as it would be processed through the claims, and so the resolution that was passed is included in the claims docket, and the claims are subject to commissioner approval.
So it's just really a matter of reading their packet, I presume. Okay, I'll just leave it at that comment. Thank you again for coming in tonight, Clark, and making the presentation there. I will say, I think too, in the future, as we think about our donation pattern and what we do to basically delegate as a council activities like communications and economic development, there may be other opportunities to invest in other organizations basically doing the work that the county could be doing. So I'll just leave it there, but happy to support this resolution this evening.
All right, thank you very much for that. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Wiltz, and then I'll go to Deckard.
You mentioned that the BEDC had been tackling issues or impacts around SCA1, and I was just wondering if you could give me a little bit more information about that.
You know, one of the things that we want to look at, if you look at some of the primary drivers, it's our understanding right now that SCA1 is all about income tax, right, to raise the revenue for that. So what that means is, as we approach the market, we're looking for good paying jobs, trying to figure out how to get those jobs located here to not only just help with revenue, but to also help potentially reverse some of the population decline that we've seen over the decades. So our efforts are going to be much more assertive in reaching out to companies that we feel are a great fit for our community, and that could, because we know when I've worked with you all in the past that when we bring an opportunity here and it's the right opportunity, you guys have been very supportive. So we're going to go outside of our community. We're going to identify companies that align with what we're trying to accomplish here to increase wages, to increase the number of people that can come here and live here. And those are things that we can do to influence those folks. And so we'll do that. So the money that we are gifted, so to speak, we will use that to develop outreach programs, talking with site selectors, specific companies that maybe align with our traded sectors or support our traded sectors. So we've got multiple tools in our toolbox. Those aren't immediate things. Those things take time to evolve, but those are things we're going to be paying close attention to.
Go ahead. So obviously, we can't tell people where to live, but it did come up, with Simtra that really the benefits to county government from local income tax depend on those folks living within Monroe County. And so when we attract businesses to the county and yet their employees choose, for whatever reason, and quite justifiably in some cases, I'm sure, to live outside the county, that's not bringing income tax into our coffers. It's helping our neighboring counties, and that's great for them. So my question is, are there strategies that we could work together on, or, do you have ideas around how to get those income tax dollars, those residents, those employees into Monroe County?
Well, I think it's starting with acknowledgement. So some of the first things that we've got to recognize that when we talk with our traded sector companies, the larger employers, as I've mentioned, anywhere from 48 to 50, maybe slightly north of that, of their folks live outside of Monroe County, right? So the question is to meet and talk with these folks and say, why is that occurring? And I think some of the things that we've got to be aware of is, what are these folks looking for? A lot of it's going to be housing, particularly single family housing. So we've got to look at our development standards and see how they align with SEA 1 so that we can continue to incentivize that. And those aren't necessarily easy things to do, but they're necessary to address some of those questions. And so those would be things that we can sit down, talk with our traded sector companies, talk about some of the challenges they're seeing, maybe talk to some of their employees to say, hey, how can we do this better, right? And those are some of the things. So I think it's kind of a community solution. So it's a combination of traded sectors. It's about acknowledgement of some of the challenges that we face, and then how we go about strategically addressing those to, A, help us, number one, identify how we can increase revenue through the income tax of those people that live here. So that's going to be one of the top things that we're kind of paying attention to. And again, these things don't occur overnight, but I think those are things that I think are going to be important to address. And, we all have a contribution to do and give to that to make that work.
Councilor Decker.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, Clark, and thanks for taking my call yesterday.
You bet.
To get additional information. I do appreciate very much that the BEDC has been a constant presence, both through you and your predecessor, in some of these conversations with the county, talking about jobs, talking about what we got to do, and even convening people to it. I mean, I think we've all been to a few of us at least have been to the airport numerous times for numerous things under various entities. One thing is, I do want to comment. I think the Councilor Henry was speaking very well about, how do you send the message to the commissioners so that they get our point? I'm not sure that's the issue. I think they get our point. I think they're sending their own message. And I think they'll send a message, and this, Clark, this doesn't necessarily have to do with you, but they'll send their message until, that board sends a different message, or maybe they won't. I'm like Mary Morgan was saying earlier, I have always joy and hope and optimism, but I don't know how it'll turn out. But we'll find out one way or the other, and the show goes on. One thing I will say is this: I'm not sure, friends, given the population numbers, I'm not sure that the community is in the position that it sometimes thinks it is of convenience on jobs. In fact, I don't think we are at all. we are in an age right now where the attacks on higher education in a college town, and Clark, you don't have to comment on that, but I will. The attacks on that could massively disrupt for a variety of different reasons. We got through a pandemic with our fingers crossed. Now, some people didn't get through it, but we got through it. But you can only take so many hits and so many bad policies from Indy or DC or wherever. You can only do that before you have a risk. The other thing is we have diversified our workforce, thank God, through life sciences. Meanwhile, how we define science and healthcare is also rapidly taking some hits. In 2020, on the vaccine, my gosh, I was in my classroom teaching in person, one of few instructors there on campus. They said they've got the vaccine. My wife's texting me, everybody's gonna. I said I'll gargle the thing every day if it takes care of this. Now, and that everybody was down with that until they weren't, and now things are different. So I sometimes think that the folks like the BDC who are having those discussions about places and things that we offer, I think you got to be doing that as they're doing that under whatever form it is. Because I remember vividly, and Liz Feidel could write the book, in the 90s when the plants we had began to say, this isn't working anymore. And everyone said, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. That turned from never happen and regional traction, people driving daily from as far as Evansville and Illinois to fill those jobs, including all the locals. By the way, McDowell Gardens and all their parking spots and all those extra driveways were not because those people wanted extra driveways. They did it because they sold parking lot spaces for the plant. That open field was vibrant. And then it changed. And someone said, what are you going to do? Mayor, what are you going to do? County, what are you going to do? And what they said is, we've got to attract new jobs. I think today, sometimes I listen to people and we speak with the convenience of, well, we could do that, but I'm worried about growth and infringement on that. Folks, I don't know that we're in the catbird seat that we think that we are. And so I think the BDC, either this year, next year, many years, all years, I think Clark out there and others hustling on this is our only hope in case something gets more wild than it is. And those population numbers do not lie. The school recognized that. I think other government entities have to recognize that too. There's something that is up and we got to own it.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Iverson.
Mr. Greiner, thank you again for being here and waiting to the end of the meeting. Really appreciate it. And for your phone calls to us. Appreciate that's always helpful. I'm not going to speak too much on this, but I do remember the BEDC was there front and center talking about housing during the CDO debates. And that was a really healthy debate. We really got to talk a lot about the pros and cons of the ways this county was thinking about zoning, and BDC offered a lot of helpful advice to that debate. And I think the absolute key benefit for me, though, and the reason why I'm going to be supporting this is I've been able to get out there and tour a lot of these factories, a lot of these sites, and I don't need to have a tour, but it was meeting the people working there, the people who were coming in, and that is really the key indicator, and talking to them about, what do you need, what are you seeing, and that's just great access to folks that I otherwise wouldn't have access to have a conversation with. So I'll be supporting this, and I certainly hope that the commissioners see it that way as well, as they came out on a lot of these with us as well. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Nothing else to add to what my fellow council colleagues have said. I think just one thing. The only thing that I would like to see is just using public comment to come in and give, any type of updates in the next coming year, whether that's, if you're seeing something that is proposed legislation from the General Assembly that we should be mindful of, that we can work together with, definitely let us know, of course, email, but definitely like to see your face here and just explain that to us so that the public could also know as well. So definitely wanted to just express that, and thank you very much for that. I think Counselor Henry touched on this earlier, but I'm going to look to Ms. Turner King to, again with this, just to clarify, because again, what we heard last year or last week is they didn't know. So should this go through, is there something as me as council president, do I need to send a formal email so nothing gets mixed and lost in the sauce?
I think an email would help, but I will also add that this has been preemptively added to the commissioners' meeting as an agenda item that hopefully my voice allows me to present tomorrow.
Okay. Well, maybe as council president,
Actually,
I'll just
Thursday.
send an email just as a double and triple check so we know for sure that this is coming. Yep. Okay. All right. That being said, gotta cross our T's and dot our I's. All right. Public comment time. If you'd like to make public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, go ahead. It seems like clerk.
I might have one more thing. I talked a little bit about my frustration about not what's going on, and I would like to ask that we receive more communication about updates with the within the workings of the BEDC, so that I don't know about others, but I can speak for myself. I want to know what's going on. I like to know what's going on in an organization before I support it, and so I would like continued updates on what's happening within the organization.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And look forward to it.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. One more.
And I think if the board, because I know this is not in your hands, to add to Councilor Fidel, if the board could tell us officially their window on the leadership role precisely and kind of how that's going to work, I think that will help as a partner to know. I don't know if the city wants that or Ellettsville because they're in those board meetings, but I think that's a helpful.
And those discussions are taking place now. So.
Okay. Appreciate that. All right. And last call for public comment. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor Henry.
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Counselor Fidel.
Yes, and I look forward to the partnership.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Next up is item B.
Council, I move to approve Resolution 2025-57, a resolution approving the Highway Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Second, please.
All right. We got a motion and a second. Ms. Turner.
So for the last several months, we've been meeting with the collective bargaining unit for the highway department and highway management regarding the collective bargaining agreement that's set to expire at the end of this year. What is before you today is the finalized version of this agreement, and I'm going to point out the substantial changes. So the first one is that this is a 2-year agreement instead of a 3-year agreement like we normally do. No, this is a 3-year instead of a 2-year. Because it seemed it might be problematic to try to negotiate in the end of 2027. The agreement now allows for the highway department to sign up twice a year for overtime. Previously, you signed your name up one time, and then if you missed too many times, you were taken off the list, and so this allows them the opportunity to break the year in half. The major change is there's some now limitations on when an employee can be called in on like a snow removal or an emergency call out. We wanted to limit it so that if an employee calls in sick that day, they couldn't then be called out that evening for an emergency situation for liability purposes. It now allows the highway employees to convert 40 hours of their sick time to personal time, and it allows them to use it all at the beginning. So this is not them getting more time. They still get the same amount of time. They're just allowed to convert more hours to sick time or to personal time. And this is because the union wanted to stay with the old scheme of benefit time. So most of the county has transitioned to just having personal time and vacation time, and not personal time, sick time, vacation time. But they liked that old structure, so they kept it. And so we're allowing them to convert more sick hours to personal time. And I think those are the major changes.
All right. I saw Counselor Iverson's hand up, and then I'll come back around.
I'm reading this correctly? This has been signed by both the commissioners and the union representatives.
Mr. Cockrell did present it to the commissioners last week.
Yeah.
Counselor Fido?
And you mentioned one or some of the changes were union initiated, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was okay what the employees wanted as well, right? I assume that's what that means, right?
We did a lot of back and forth, but we came to an agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Turner King on this item? All right. Seeing none, we'll go to public comment on this item. If we have public comment on this, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat Hill Room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay. Next up, we will go to item D.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval to extend the expiration date of Resolution 2025-14, which temporarily suspends the Personnel Administration Committee and job position requests.
Second.
Ms. Turner King.
So I went ahead and prepared an amended resolution that I'll display on the screen. The only change to the resolution is in paragraph 3, which previously stated the resolution implemented a PAC pause that would expire in December of 2025 unless renewed by the council prior to that date. The resolution's now going to read. Let me try to display it. The resolution was set to automatically expire December of 2025. However, after further consideration and review of the county's budget, the council believes it's fiscally responsible to extend this pause until December 31st of 2026, and you can amend that date. I just put a placeholder in there for now, unless renewed, repealed, or amended prior to that date by the council.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Deckard.
This is probably a really dumb question, but this occurred to me as I was thinking about these last two items. This sitting council now, which is the same sitting council theoretically in January that comes in here, we can set something for next year, same as this year. It's just in this case, we set it to expire at the end of this year. Is that right?
It was set to expire at the end of this year.
Yeah, yeah. So there's nothing that would make this action not good for next year. It's okay.
I think it's okay because as I'm displaying paragraph 3, it says unless renewed, repealed, or amended prior to the December 31st date, which allows any future council to change it.
All right.
And no dumb questions. Tupac said, even the genius has questions. Sorry. I'm full of quotes tonight. All right. Anybody else have any? Yes, Counselor Iverson.
So this is going to come up in both, or this item and the next item. But I have not seen, and maybe I missed it, but I have not seen new economic data for Indiana that suggests that the next budget cycle is going to be any easier than the last cycle. Nope. And I'm not seeing anybody that's indicating that they have seen anything like that. The next, I think, thing on our calendar is an AIC legislative session in late January where we might get some more information. Maybe.
But until I see anything contrary to the struggle that we had this last budget cycle, I am really hesitant to make a change.
Yeah. And then I'll go to Counselor Henry. So I
Thank you. This is more of a legal term question. So is repel being used for a specific reason, or is it meant to be repeal?
Oh, but it's on here now.
It's supposed to be repeal.
Okay. Well, I guess we need to change that. All right, that's it. I just want to make sure we caught it, because I understand there's a legal, we can legally repel something too. I just don't know if we're trying to do that. Okay, thanks.
Nice catch, Counselor Henry. I think the only thing that I would add to this for council members is, I think earlier we heard about how we need to have a long-term finance discussion with this. And I think considering the forecast of a lot of things with SEA1, I don't feel very comfortable in allowing this to, I guess, to sunset at the end of this year. I think we need to kind of pump the brakes on some things as we continue to navigate. And maybe again, this is something that we could come to the long-term finance and ask the question of, because again, we can make amendments to the resolution. So if we chose a date and after hearing, if we have a long-term finance committee meeting and we, speak to Greg Geritos about this and FSG about this, and they feel comfortable with it and we feel comfortable with it, we can always amend the resolution to change the date. And so again, because the forecast is very frightful, I'm not very hopeful. Yes, Counselor Wiltz.
Thank you. I just wanted to, say that I agree that we're not quite ready to lift this. However, as I've mentioned, I do think that there is business that the PAC could be doing, and I didn't notice that it says that in the resolution. That's what it's called. So I would, and maybe there are pieces of what long-term finance is looking at that come to PAC to process and bring to council as well. I think we should utilize some of these committees strategically, and so just wanted to point out that this doesn't mean that PAC cannot be meeting to do other things. Thanks.
I agree. Well, to your point, and I think you said this a while back when we were discussing the hiring freeze, maybe PAC could come back to the table and discuss, the hiring freeze, and different ways to figure that process out. Because I still think that people still have questions and concerns about it. So maybe that's something that PAC could do and then bring back to council for a larger discussion and or approval. Okay. Yes.
If the intent is for PAC to still meet, then we would have to make an amendment to the resolution, because item 1 says the Personal Administration Committee will not meet.
PAC may continue to meet to consider procedural matters. Does that not mean what I think it means?
I don't think that sentence is in the version that was passed.
I'm just looking in our packet. It's at the end of number 1.
I didn't submit a resolution to the packet, so I'm not sure where the resolution that was in the packet came from.
I don't know. Everyone else has one in their packet, right? Am I looking at the wrong document?
Nope.
Okay.
Yep. Counselor Henry?
Lord, this has been a crazy meeting.
Yeah. To Counselor Wilson's point, yeah, I guess the question, or the way I'm hearing it, is if we allowed a little PAC to happen, that to make sure that it's clear to departments that that doesn't open up PAC to do its regular business, that it's limited to, I think the way you were going at it was in the right direction, this idea that it's really about rules and procedure and not the PAC process, right? So like if, yeah, so I mean, it's almost like a, yeah, and I think I'm careful about the word procedure because the procedure is for people to bring things to PAC, right? So like we don't want them doing that, but what we're talking about is opening the committee up to deal with policy related to personnel. Like that would help us with department heads and trying to figure out what a more severe budget cycle could look like if our revenue really drops, right? Like it's not about opening the PAC process up. It's really about like a rules behavior. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
What it says, at least in the one I have.
I checked S Drive for approved resolutions, and there were 2 versions, and so I looked at the wrong version, and so that sentence is in what I would consider the latter past version, so I have now added it to it.
Cool. Thank you.
Just to clarify, the version in the packet that the public can see is the correct version? Okay.
So no amendment. Cool. Okay. All right. Any other
Yeah, they can't. They can't. Okay.
questions or comments from council?
Who's on first?
Yes, Councilor Iverson.
And Ms. Molly Turner King, may I ask you another question? The times that PAC has met this fall has been at the pleasure of the council. So the council has said, you can meet on, whenever and do whatever. The section number 1 seems to indicate that PAC can schedule itself for meetings on procedural matters. Am I reading that correctly? Or does council still need to provide guidance to say you can meet on January 14th, as an example?
For the 2026 calendar resolution, we did include a PAC meeting schedule.
I remember that.
And then in that resolution, it says if the PAC meeting schedule is that the PAC chair has the authority to address any scheduling amendments necessary for PAC meetings. So it allows the chair to amend that. We would just need to ensure that if it is amended, that it is noticed in accordance with Open Door.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So technically, this is just a discussion, and so now we need to have a motion to extend. So, council, I guess with no objections, I would like to extend our PAC pause to December 31st, 2026. Am I?
Second.
I think you can simplify it and say I would like to move to approve amended resolution 2025-14, and then that has the new date.
Okay, so what you said. All right. Does that suffice? Okay.
Second.
All right. And so that is what we are doing. All right. Any other further questions or comments from council on this?
Yeah, I just have the point of order. Is the document that Molly, that Ms. Turner King amended, is that the same resolution we're talking about that's in the packet? It wasn't clear to me.
Yes. What was apparently in the packet was the version that was passed in March, and then the resolution, the amended version, is the one that I displayed on the screen, and I'm happy to redisplay it.
Wait, so we just said that we were doing it as amended, though.
So you're passing the amended one. The one in the packet is not the amended one. The one in the packet's the original one. I don't know how it got. I don't know where the one in the packet came from.
I put it in there so that you guys would have a reference of what we passed to what she was working on, because at the time of the packet, the amendment was not ready to put in the packet.
Yeah, Councilor Iverson.
My understanding was that the motion on the floor was amending section 3 of the packet, simply updating the year to 2026. So the document in the packet would not change at all, except for section 3, updating the year to 2026.
It is correct that the only change is to paragraph 3, other than it says amended at the top. Is it displaying? It adds the language in section 3 changes to what is displayed on the screen. It was set to expire December 25th. However, after further consideration and review of the county's budget, the council believes it's fiscally responsible to extend the pause until December 31st of 2026.
Can you scroll up to number 1 just for my own peace of mind? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is my question, that both documents are verbatim except for what we just changed, right? Because I'd hate to have an amended over here and then something else that was a prior version that we somehow merged together here. If it's clear to folks in the room that amendment is on the most recent resolution, that I'm good. It's not clear way out here.
It's clear in the room.
Okay, good. All right.
Ms. Turner King, were you about to say something? I'm sorry. Okay. Because I think to Councilor Wiltz's point, it sounds like you wanted to ensure that we could still do procedural things for PAC, and that's in what we see here that was in the packet. Got it. Okay. Okay, so we got a motion and a second on the floor. Any other further discussion from council on this?
So is this for the amendment or the overall document now?
This would be on the amendment.
We're voting on the amendment now. Thank you.
It would be a motion to accept the resolution as amended.
As amended. So that's the whole thing.
Right.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
the only thing that we were doing is changing the date in item 3 to extend to December 31st, 2026.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So, any other further questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none from council, we'll go to public comment. If there's any public comment on this item, come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Counselor Fidel.
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor Henry.
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay, thank you. And next up is item E.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval to extend the expiration date of Resolution 2025-24, which temporarily suspends the KSA, or Knowledge, Skills, and Abilities Practice.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Turner King.
Similar to the previous motion, I prepared a resolution and the language changes to item 3 in it. I'm gonna display it. It previously stated that the KSA pause ends December 31st of 2025, and now reads as on the screen. So
Okay. Yes, Councilor Iverson.
I support the possible amendment, or the amendment being shown on the screen, for the same reasons that I talked about the previous point. I've seen no economic data that suggests that the budget in the coming year is going to be any easier than the previous year.
Councilor Deckard.
Well, and I appreciate that comment. And the more I look at this resolution, it reminds me of my griping from when we adopted it originally. And it seems to be more so the case that my griping, that rescue not coming, change not coming is probably imminent. I mean, just to kind of set the timeline, if I understand it correctly, the General Assembly is in technically right now, and then they're out in February, and that's shoot, we won't even be done with snow trucks by then, let alone whatever. And so we're in this trouble. I do appreciate the reassurance from a year ago that the council can, should something manifest, the council can undo this resolution, just like we could amend it all year, and sometimes we do. So I appreciate that, the ability we have to do that.
You? All right. Any other questions or comments from council on this item? Yes, Councilor Iverson.
Council, I move to approve the adopted resolution 2025-24-25.
Second.
You said
What?
Hold on. What I wanted to do with that motion, I'm gonna verbalize this, is adopt what was on the screen, but then I got confused as to the naming of the resolution. No, we need to say the same. We're just adopting that resolution.
It would be a motion to adopt the amended resolution, which is 2025-24.
That's what I wanted to do. I think that's what I said, but we've been here a while. Is it not what, do I need to restate the motion?
Probably to clarify.
I would say yes to clarify, or you could say so moved.
So moved.
All right. Okay, so we have that clarification there. Is there any other further discussion from council on this item?
Who seconded? Thank you.
Yes, Councilor
My
Rhodes.
question is bigger than this item, but related. Nothing that we are doing here or in the last one is addressing the hiring freeze, right?
Right.
And when does that expire?
Next year.
Like,
I want to say, go there. Go to.
for some reason thought it expired at the end of this month too, but okay. Yeah.
Was he laying down? Oh.
The hiring freeze resolution expires December 31st of 2026.
Okay, perfect. So it is already in the
Oh,
original.
that's when it, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
We were forward
Look at
thinking
that.
then.
Way to go,
Look at
Council.
us. All
Okay.
right.
So again, the underlying thing is, yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You got
I
it?
appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right, any other further questions or comments on council related to the resolution as amended? Seeing none, public comment, you can raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. Okay, and without further ado, may we please have a roll call vote on the final item of 2025?
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Counselor Deckard. Counselor Deckard.
My hearing. Yes.
Counselor Feidel.
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor Henry.
Yes.
Counselor Crosley.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous 6-0.
Okay.
So confused.
Okay. Okay. Okay, all right. So that brings us to, there was a little confusion here in the Nat U Hill room. Everybody good on, before we move? Yes, Counselor.
So I'll just bring it up. So if we look at the agenda, it's got 12C, which is the meeting schedule, right?
Right.
And did we get rid of that or what?
It was removed.
Yeah, that's the one that we did earlier, where
I missed that.
Miss Well, Michelle, can you or Molly explain that again?
Originally, we thought we were going to have to amend the meeting schedule to accommodate for a change in deadlines since the way additional appropriations is going to be advertised is changing. But after after further review, we don't think we need to amend the deadlines. What's going to happen is that additional appropriations will be advertised through Gateway, and there's a 14-day advertisement, but I think our current advertising deadlines accounts for that. What we were afraid of was that we'd have to advertise in Gateway and the newspaper, and our advertisement schedule wouldn't have accounted for that, but after confirming with DLGF we don't have to advertise in the paper anymore, we could remove that item.
I apologize for missing that if that was said some other time.
Okay. I missed it. I was completely confused as to what was going on. Fomenting all kinds of craziness over here on this end.
All right. So if we're all good, we'll come down to the last item, which is council comments and liaison updates. And it is the last one of the year, so make it count. I'm going to start with Councilor Vital.
A list. It's not color code, but I do have a list.
Okay.
So I just wanted to remind folks to shop local with this Bloomington gift card option. 50 vendors or businesses are signed up to be part of that. So you can go on the City of Bloomington website and find it there. It's called the Bloomington Gift Card. And you can find that at bloomingtonin.gov. The 250th anniversary events will be occurring, I've learned, between February and July of 2026. And remind people that there's a copy of the Declaration of Independence at the Lilly Library in the IU campus. Then there, in one meeting I was at recently, there was about from the people on Kirkwood Avenue. And they're concerned about when emergency management notifications occur and information goes out, they were seeking a more collaborative approach into how that all gets disseminated. I think they were feeling a little non-unification in messages they were receiving. And they didn't give me exact examples, but there was some discussion about that. The Taste of Bloomington next year will either be Saturday, August 1st, or rain date of Sunday, August 2nd. And they will be closing down Dunn and Grant this year. So that should help with people walking back and forth on Kirkwood there. Visit Bloomington is working on a culinary passport trail. They'll have it ready approximately in January next month. Freeze Fest is coming up on January 23rd and January 24th, and that'll be at Switchyard this year. And then we were alerted that the economic impact of each home football game is $6 to $7 million. And then we talked a little bit about, I think, the ICE arrest that happened recently. And as I understand, the hearing for that will be tomorrow in Chicago. Yes, so that is still ongoing. There is good legal counsel, as I understand. And we're hoping for the best there. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. Counselor Wiltz.
Yeah. Cool. I have a couple of things that are just minor updates. Let's see here. I am trying to find my minor updates. I'm messing everything up. There we go. The Waste Reduction District of Monroe County does a lot of really cool things. And one of the things I learned as a member of their board is that we now have a private entity offering curbside residential compost pickup weekly to anyone residing within the city limits of Bloomington or in the northern half of Monroe County for now. They are out of counties up north. They've got a wide coverage area, and the company's name is Richland Farms. So if that is something that interests you, please go ahead and go to their website and go to the compostery section of the website. It is very reasonable in terms of the cost. I'll leave it at that and let you all explore. It's Richland Farms. The other thing I wanted to say from the Waste Reduction District is that we've lost a couple of members of the Citizens Advisory Committee to the Waste Reduction District, and it's a very, I would say it's a very impactful committee of citizens, and if you have any interest in waste reduction and recycling and composting and learning more about how to reduce and reuse throughout the county, consider applying to the Citizens Advisory Committee. And that application is super short, and it is on the Waste Reduction District .com site is what it looks like. Monroe County Waste Reduction District, wastereductiondistrict.com. And you can navigate to the CAC or Citizens Advisory Committee. That, I believe, is all I had. Crazy. Let me see here. Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
I'm losing my voice. I just want to start off, and I want to thank our highway workers who have been out clearing roads in a really early front end kind of winter before I think we were prepared for it, and some real Arctic blasts. So thanks them. Thanks also to our friends in the city who do the same in the city and over in the town of Ellettsville, where I was cruising around in some of that. And you can see all these folks out there doing that. They're away from their families. They're out in unquestionably bad weather, as well as our law enforcement who also still have to respond, and other first responders. And so thanks to all those heroes. They get the job done. I also will say this. I try to say this annually to folks at home. I sometimes watch social media and I get a little nervous because sometimes we expect miracles out of massive snowstorms where temperatures are dropping. Please be patient. Be patient with those who work with you, for you, and where you have to go. And I know that's easy for me to say now, but these things are what they are. And we've got a lot of folks trying to cover a lot of ground quickly. I also want to point out that in this weather, as we've talked about for numerous times in the last couple of weeks, severe winter hits a lot of different people, including those who find themselves unhoused and outside, which we've talked about a great deal. I want to thank the churches who banded together for the Bloomington Severe Winter Emergency Shelter. That it's downtown. You've got First United, you got First United Methodist, First Presbyterian, kind of doing that rotation. I'm sure there's other entities that are also jumping in there, as well as our traditional, and I hate to use that word, traditional providers that make things happen. These are volunteers that go overnight, that they get this done so that others will be okay, and so that we try to make sense of how we do this. One thing is, if you're out there and you're thinking that you've got a little time and you want to help that effort, I'm sure they would love either support in being a volunteer or supporting financially, because a lot of times these folks are raising this money as they go and doing it with just volunteers and best wishes and good hopes. To find out more about that, you could go to bswears, bswers.wordpress.com. And then the last thing I'll just say, in this season, is the council is allegedly done for the year. I look at Councilor Crossley, no one's more excited than her. But as we are allegedly done, this is the last time at this mic. And Councilor Feidel talked about hearing for a member of our community up in Chicago. And friends, I don't know what is precisely going on. I cannot put my feet on it or hands on it. But the snatching of people, the grabbing of people, the things that go bump in the night on public property and grab people, that's creepy stuff. That reminds me of stuff I read in history books in Little Grandview Elementary, and it wasn't in the United States. Now, we haven't been saints, and there's a lot of folks that know exactly what I mean by that in a variety of ways, but is this who we want to be? And so in a season where some of our faiths talk about nativity scenes and people that wandered across border to flee oppression and ruin and death, is this who we really want to be as a country? So more than any time, look out for your neighbor. But my gosh, if you're not down with any of this, let's let our federal representatives know this, because this is the United States of America, built by people from all over this world that make it stronger. And this community is a place that literally was built stronger. There was no original townie other than our first generations that were here. And so we only get stronger with more people. We only get stronger by being kind. And friends, we got to do better than this. And if you're mad about it like I am, then call somebody. Erin Houchins, your congresswoman, Todd Young, Jim Banks, they're your U.S. senators. And you can find any of their information online and otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Councilor Iverson.
I want to share 4 things today. First, we've talked a lot about the cold. We've talked about being patient with folks plowing, where folks can go and sleep. But I want to mention something fun. On January 1st, Paintown will have its Polar Plunge. I will be there yet again. Costumes are encouraged. It is a really, really fun time. You can find more details on Facebook. Just look up Paintown Polar Plunge. That is crack of dawn on January 1st. It's a lot of fun. If crack of dawn on January 1st is not when you are at your best, there is another opportunity, people of Monroe County. The Lemon Drop Polar Plunge will take place on January the 10th at 10 a.m. on Lake Lemon. Again, costumes are encouraged. Or, whatever bathing suit you want to wear in January 10th at Lake Lemon. Number 2, SUDEC is going to meet tomorrow. We are really excited. The commissioners approved a contract for us to have the opioid summit next year. We're working hard on that, as well as getting a treatment list of recommendations put together for the county. The health board will meet this week. And so I'll be attending that and see what they're up to. And then in addition to the last thing I'll mention is thank you to President Crossley for her year of service to this community. It is a lot, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And so thank you for your dedication and your courage. Thank you also to our staff. Thank you for everything all 4 of you have done this year. This has not been an easy year. The packets just seem to get longer and longer, and people add stuff at the very last minute that you have to add, and all the minutes. So thank you to each and every one of you. Happy holidays, and may you all have a joyous new year.
Thank you. All right. In virtual land, Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Madam President, and I'd like to thank my colleagues for a good first year here on council. There's been a lot, and we've worked through a lot. I appreciate when community leaders lead from their seats and they have agency, and we don't just stay in our lanes, but we lead from the seats we have, and I think everyone's done that this year, and it's been a joy to work with all of you. I have one kind of update comment, and then I'll finish on a light note, since I'm the last to talk. So. The Convention and Visitors Center board, of which I've served on as a liaison for the past year, we had our last meeting. The first thing we're going to see on our docket in January is a request to appropriate funds for the Visit Bloomington's relocation of that center to downtown on 4th Street from our old 37 location. They're eager to get their architectural work going to get the visitor center piece opened, which will complement the work on the convention center. There's a lot of good news coming out of that board. One statistic that came out that really relates to Mary Morgan's heading home presentation earlier is that we have over 880 Airbnbs in our community. By comparison to other counties in Indiana, only Indianapolis and South Bend have more. Places like Fort Wayne have less because they regulate them there by a sample. And so when we think about the housing choices in the community, and that 880 units are set aside for short-term or Airbnb rentals, especially in the city of Bloomington, there's another rock to look under into maybe how we're creating some challenges for housing, for what Mr. Greiner mentioned with the BEDC and attracting businesses here to house workers as opposed to those units being rentals. And so while that is going on from an economic standpoint, those homes do generate innkeeper's tax revenue too. So while we are also beneficiaries of it, but there are some challenges there with that many units in our community that are set aside for that Airbnb use. I hope the city of Bloomington, through their hand office, really takes up some regulatory behavior in the next year to really think through how much is too much on that. But on the last note, I am sorry I'm not with you all. I'm in the state of Ohio next door, where there's a lot of sad Buckeye fans, especially as I'm wearing my IU hat all over the state. And will do so on my way back through Columbus tomorrow. So I'll just leave it on that. Go IU, et cetera. We'll see you on the flip side after the Rose Bowl. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And make sure you chant the OHNO as you wear your hat. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Okay. So last but not least, again, as we are in the spirit, hopefully we can continue to have the spirit of the holidays all year round. But because there's a lot of dark times right now. But I will choose to shift focus to light. And so I just want to say to the auditor staff, I always call them the team, the table team, appreciate that. Everybody has gone through or is going through a whole lot of stuff this year, and you all continue to show up as much as you have for us, and we definitely appreciate that. I see other teams around, and I think that we have a better team in the county, and I'm not just saying, but I'm saying. So that being said, I just appreciate all of you all. I know sometimes we can kind of irk each other and just kind of do all the things, but we still smile and we say thank you. To the two newbies on council, y'all did a phenomenal job. Councilor Henry and Councilor Feidel for stepping in. There was a lot this year, and every month this year, we can highlight at least one event where, the next month was like, hold my beer, there's more to come. But we, continue to persevere and will continue to do so in 2026. To my colleagues here, all of you, virtual and Councilor Hawk, who aren't here, I continue to be very grateful for all of you. There have been moments where I did not think that we would be banded together with certain votes and situations, but you shocked me, and I really appreciated that. And I think that, again, sometimes some of us kind of maybe pushed us more than others into uncomfortable moments. But again, I think, we need that, because I don't think I've seen the level of scrutiny of county council ever. And I think that we are doing this all for the right reasons. It's not for vanity. It's not for fame. It's not for any of that, but we really care about our community. And we appreciate that. And I just appreciate my colleagues really coming together, especially last week after, I think it was, Kat said it was a 6-hour and 27-minute meeting. So I appreciate that. I know our meetings are a little bit longer, but at least we get through a lot of the business and don't let people sit through there and table them. So that being said, I just, again, appreciate that. I appreciate everybody. Also, we got a very nice card from the Monroe County Humane Association. I think that was one of our groups of people that we funded through the Sophia Travis Grant Committee. So we appreciate hearing or seeing that. Again, the other thing that I wanted to say is there has been a lot of conversation, and I want my colleagues to pay attention to it close as we continue to go through the year with the CIB and the Redevelopment Commission and the city, and the conversations about There's been some talk from council members on the city side about land swaps, and I've been trying to pay close attention to that. I don't think any of us have been privy to the conversation. However, I think we should stay tuned and be very mindful of what our council colleagues do on 401 North Morton Street. And maybe they'll talk about it tomorrow. They have a meeting. Their last meeting tomorrow is at 6:30. So again, just appreciate everybody, all the things, every department head and council or employees of county government. We definitely appreciate that. And without that being said, we are adjourned for 2025. See y'all in 2026. Thank you.